Hello again, friends! And you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here on another winter's day. Some of us are not feeling very well. Some of us are in a great mood and say they are prepared today. We'll find out about that. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. A lot to go over with this man, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Folks, right now, if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and place a bet on which one of us is which in the description that was so eloquently delivered by Mr. Last here just moments ago, you'd probably lose, because I am the one who's cheerful and full of pep, full of vim and vigor, full of spunk, and ready to go. Feeling finer than frog's hair and ready to hop, and you, Brian Last, are the one already making these excuses and giving these reasons. Oh, you know, my back is a disaster area, and oh, I'm sad, my hearing and my ear is just throbbing, and oh, woe is me, gloom, despair, and agony, oh me.
Once again, if they can only guess which one you're actually talking about.
To the
sound like a psychopath talking about yourself like this.
You're lowering people's expectations, Brian Last, of your performance or participation in this particular program that we are promulgating here. And meanwhile, I'm ready to go and have just a wonderful program full of happy talk and good things that we need to say about people.
Oh, that'll be a nice change. What good things are we going to say? What are we going to start with? What good things are we going to start with?
I don't know. Actually, I've been hoping for just a regular program where we didn't have to talk about somebody over the last few days making Caligula look like, you know, goddamn Mother Teresa. But since now we've gone from scandal, we're going to have to go back to injury. So the news is still not happy, but at least it's not as evil. It's just being left to random chance. And we do have some mockery that we can make of certain things that have happened over the last week or so. The midgets on Discovery beat the midgets on TNT in the ratings. We've got Tony Khan is now running the second largest midget wrestling promotion in the world, ladies and gentlemen.
There's one of them right now.
And I don't know. Is that vocal done by Jericho and his new guys as Ronald McDonald?
Oh, save it. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that
later on. In detail.
But hey, I got to I'm going to try to dispel any rumors before they get running rampant here over the last couple weeks. And this is part commercial plug, ladies and gentlemen, but it's part about me also. Over the last couple weeks when I've been talking about the Midnight Express tag team set figures that do go on sale at JimCornette.com on Saturday, February 10th at noon Eastern Time. Eaton and Condrey, Eaton and Lane, and the Heavenly Bodies, Lane and Dr. Tom Pritchard. First and last time ever, limited numbers, the whole shebang. I'd said a couple weeks ago, I'm not going to be remaking these. This is going to be the limited edition. It's the 40th anniversary, and we're done because, you know, with the time that it takes to get these things manufactured and sent over, et cetera, I said, now I'm starting to invest, large amounts of money in shit that I can't even put on sale for 2 fucking years. I don't want to end up sooner or later, mathematically, I'm sticking Stacy with like, yeah, here's fucking $150,000 worth of action figures. Nobody to sell them. He's gone. But, so I said this year, there's going to be one more Jim Cornette variant. More on that later on in the year. And I'm getting out of the action figure business. Everybody has enjoyed them and they've been very successful, but I want to do other stuff. Well, then I guess conflating it last week, I said all of the other Jim Cornette merchandise that we sell currently when the tag team sets go up on February 10th, we're taking that down. The Cornette face shirts, the Cult of Cornette certificates, because it's still only the Cornettes and the feather bottoms over here. We've only got a certain number of hands, and we want to make sure we can fill all the orders. So as we did with the 4-packs till we got ahead of that, we're taking all that merchandise down. and it'll be off sale on February 10th. So order before if you want some of that. And several people have said, Jim, you're getting out of the merchandise business. You're not going to sell any merchandise. Possibly not with that frantic of a tone. They didn't really sound like they just found out their house was on fire with the family in it. But they were concerned. No, it's not that I'm not going to sell any merchandise. When we get a handle on the rush of the tag team sets, our regular merchandise will go back on sale. And in the future, Brian, and you know this, I've been dying to get some time to go through and not only scan, but do books around my wrestling photography and much of the things in the vault here at Castle Cornette. There's not only an extensive collection, but it's wrestling research and history that can be plumbed. And we have you got same thing over there. We have audio tapes that have been unheard that need to be transferred and digitized and all that stuff. And I would like to write a few more books and do a few things like that. As much as the action figures are popular, it's not really, I'm not making them with my own two hands. It's not really an expression of me. And as I get older, everybody in my generation is either dead or lost their minds. And everybody knows my cousin Larry had several health challenges this year, and none of us are getting any younger. And these are things I want to do. So I'm going to turn my energy while I have it in directions like that for the merchandise for the future. So does that hopefully adequately explain why I am trying to, wrap things up before I'm in a wheelchair eating oatmeal through a straw?
That explains that. Of course, if you do want some of these things that Jim won't be having, the bootleg versions will be under the account TGBL.
Yeah. I've already trademarked TGBL Limited, Incorporated, International, and Co. Just to so I'm going to charge you to use that after I'm gone.
I know you're a trademark lawyer. That guy's fucking afraid of me, so I think I can take care of
come on now. For heaven's sake, we won't go into all of that. The poor guy, he was just doing the best I was trying to get him to trademark.
That was your first problem.
Yes, trademark. I got the trademark lawyer. Oh, fuck it. That's better than what I'd come up with. So anyway, if you want these tag team sets of the Midnight Express, there's less than 1,000 of Eaton and Lane, less than 1,000 of Eaton and Condrey, and 500 of the Heavenly Bodies, Lane and Pritchard. And they all come with an autographed photo of everyone, obviously, except Bobby, and personalized by myself to your specifications. There are a few again, and it'll be a race to the checkout, folks, at noon Eastern on the 10th of February. Bobby, the last signed pictures we have that Bobby signed, and some will include the Milestones book from the 4-pack also, but none of these are going to be remade or produced or reproduced in the future. And this is the 40th anniversary Midnight Express celebration, part 2, the final chapter, going out with a bang. And thank you for everybody who has participated so far or who is going to. But yes, I have, I've got nature photography, I'll have you know. I got to go back and find my negatives of when I used to take pictures of the birds out in the backyard when I was a kid. That could be I could be the next.
The next what? You don't know who?
The last guy that had a big selling book on nature photography. John James Audubon.
You have lots of pictures of birds you can say on the back. Jim Cornette is a recognized bird lawyer as well as a bird photographer.
That's the thing. It's been about 200 years since there's been a fucking best-selling book on fucking bird art. So we're way overdue. I might jump in on that trademark.
Bird art was once very popular.
Yes, back when they didn't have any other kind of art.
They were amazed by the colors of the birds. But let's get away from the birds and let's go to the bees.
Yes,
I don't know what we're going to deal with here, but WWE Raw, let's get this out of the way because there is some news coming out of it this past week. WWE Raw.
Captain Buzzkill over there. We got to start with this.
Well, Captain Buzzkill. Am I Captain Buzzkill or is WWE Captain Buzzkill?
Yes, you are. No, you are. We got to start with the bad news of the week that is going to significantly impact yours and mine and many other people's enjoyment of this goddamn 3-hour television program every Monday night without a certain individual for a while. We will go into, but it's your show. Go ahead and continue to introduce it.
And I can't be a buzzkill. I have way too big of a buzz right now to be that. But Jim, Monday Night Raw in the same town that they were in previously for the Royal Rumble with what we thought was a lukewarm crowd. We'd heard from people who were there who said that, no, the crowd was into it. I don't know. But they were back in Tampa, full house for Monday Night Raw.
Well, now, was the stadium in Tampa or St. Pete?
St. Pete, I guess.
Well, it's not the same town. Now, the people down there, them's fighting words down there in Florida. Tampa and St. Petersburg are two very distinct cities and entities in a combined metroplex, much like Dallas and Fort Worth. So give them the respect that's on their birth certificates. See, I'm not going to take a lot of this shit seriously today. But
now I don't even know. Were they in Tampa for this, or were they in a different?
No, this was Tampa.
This was Tampa
here.
Okay.
Yes, but St. Petersburg is where the stadium was, so they weren't in the same town.
What's the name of the team that plays in the stadium?
I don't know.
The Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, okay.
So my mind went to Tampa. No one goes the Tampa Bay Rays of St. Petersburg.
But they're on both sides of Tampa Bay.
Right, but the focus is on the Tampa part of the bay.
Well, you ought to look more across the bay.
Is it a nice bay?
It's a pretty big bay. Pretty big, beautiful bay, baby. All right, so they start they've broken us. They've finally fucking broken us. So they start the program out with a package on the Rumble that to be honest, it made it look so much better than it was. Bam, I was really into that. Shit, I wish it hadn't taken me an hour and a half to watch this fucking match. And 4 hours to watch this pay-per-view, because in 4 minutes, it was fucking great. But their production, their editing, production, etc., kudos to them. And then they announced, now we lost an announcer. Poor Kevin Patrick. Kevin, we hardly knew ye. Alas, poor Kevin. So,
let me back.
No, you can't come in. I hear you panting, but you can't come in, Kevin. You must go.
Why did someone think I should be the lead commentator?
Because they wanted to appeal to the British expatriate fucking demographic.
Every time you say that, we get someone to yell at us. Is he
Irish again?
Is he Irish? Yeah, maybe.
I thought he was somebody. No, that's right. He's Irish. He's Irish. All right. The Irish expatriate fucking demographic here in the United States. And nevertheless, out comes the trade-off for that. It's going to be Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee, ladies and gentlemen, will be the new color man along with Michael Cole on the Monday Night Raw programs going forward. So they had to spend an inordinate amount of money to make that happen, didn't they? With all the other commitments that McAfee possesses here currently.
Well, football season's coming to a close, so I think his commitments have opened up a little bit for the next little while, and he already has a relationship with them. He's a big star. They like him there. I think they think he's bigger than he is, or how do I phrase that? They think he's more popular than he is?
Yes, more over potential. But he's pretty fucking popular
right.
to some extent.
He's unbearable on commentary because it's like AEW commentary, but every now and then he hits you with a great line. You're like, man. And then right away, yeah, he's really fucking annoying on commentary. Here's the only big problem I have with this. Not even a big problem, but my only thought was, and again, they did an angle with Drew McIntyre. We'll talk about it momentarily, but you have CM Punk, and he can't wrestle for a while. He may be the best color commentator in the entire business. From the little bits I've seen him do it on Raw way back, on AEW TV. You need to keep him on TV. Well, you don't need to. Well, if you wanted to keep him on TV and keep him involved and have his mouth build up trouble that eventually he'll get into, which he'll be perfect at, that's what I would have done.
Here's the thing is, I can see what you're saying and agree with it with a time limit before we know how long that he may be out. I see what they did and I see what they can do. I wouldn't want to do this immediately because like Cody, they kept us well apprised, but he still went away. Because how can we miss you if you won't go away? Is this the CM Punk version of Cody's torn pec that everybody was like, oh God, this is the end? And he came back bigger, but it took a while. You don't want Punk to have a constant presence, much less that he can if he's undergoing surgery and doing the rehab the right way initially. And you want another big name, however big, can be debated or, litigated elsewhere, but he's a recognized known name within that universe as well as outside in the media. So McAfee being announced as the permanent color guy gives them somebody right now, boom, another distraction from the potentially more lurid headlines they could be getting into, and they've got a guy that can do that no matter what happens if a safe falls on Punk tomorrow, which, depending on what CM Punk has done to Maria Ospinskaya to deserve the curse that has been laid upon him, even a Punk who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may be maligned with injury, and I can't even finish it because the moon is full and bright. I don't know what the fuck. You don't realize that Maria Ospinskaya is the lady who played the old gypsy woman in the Universal horror classic The Wolfman, featuring Lon Chaney Jr. playing the afflicted lycanthrope Larry Talbot, whose Punk's dog is named after. And so that was hysterical to everybody but you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So the point is, then later on, when you have assessed what the injury is and how it's been treated and how the recovery is going, then you can determine they've already laid seeds with Punk and Drew. And you've already got, everything you've had before. If Punk comes back from injury in whatever period of time, but you don't want him there just every week because then, it doesn't peak. It peaks and valleys before he's ready to take advantage of a peak. Does that make sense?
It does. Again, we don't know how long he'll be out. He was out, I think, 9 months last time he tore his tricep. But that was also in the middle. In the middle of the all-out thing. So I don't know how long was the injury and how long was anything else.
Yeah, and he got some practice before, so he ought to be better at it this time. Now, I'm trying to bring some levity to a sad, sad situation that's gotten more and more absurd.
Well, let's talk about that situation. Pat McAfee's now on commentary, but Raw opened up after that announcement with the thing that everyone wanted to know what was going on. CM Punk, he held on to his arm in the Royal Rumble after a spot with Drew McIntyre. It looked like he was in some pain. He talked to a referee. Then he finished a match. Come to find out, he is injured once again.
Like Mussolini with shitty news. Here he came, arm in a sling. It had gotten out on the internet, but obviously, some people viewing at home were like, oh shit. And you could tell from his face that, shit, something's up. But one more time, at least, it led to one of the greatest segments on television, WWE this time, that we've seen in quite a while. He comes out, he gets the chance, and he stares at the WrestleMania sign, and he's obviously upset, and he congratulated Cody, said, I hope he finishes his story. And then he gave us the news. He's, I thought I had it in my hand. The way he mixes stuff that's absolutely true and undeniably true with just by the way that he refers to them. You can't tell when he's working and when he's not. This was 85 or 90% shoot, but he said, I came close. I thought I had it in my hand. Of course he didn't. He knew he was going to lose the match, but he thought he had the WrestleMania moment. It was it's blurring the lines. He sounds so real. He is telling the truth. And he gave the news he tore his tricep, and WrestleMania this year isn't in the cards. And don't feel sorry for me. Maybe it's not ever going to happen. Is this a problem? And then he talked about a friend of his with cancer who, when he visits him, he's never down. He's always upbeat. And he's, so is this a problem for me when there's problems like that? And he teared up over that. He said, this is just a flesh wound. And again, it's verbally brilliant that he can tell the truth to such an extent in an obviously these days scripted program, and it still all makes sense within the story as well. Is it just a flesh wound? I overcome adversity. Hey, I lose more than I win. Did you see me fight in the UFC? And that was brilliant. It was not great, but God damn it, I had a dream and an opportunity, and I did it. And the people start chanting for him again. Because now he's doing a positive promo. This is a bump in the road he'll overcome. And I can't even begin to do it justice, but it was great material. And the delivery was at another level, as the kids are saying so much these days. And as he finally says, hey, there's always next year, right? Like the Cubs say, Drew McIntyre music. And who would have thought, again, that Sir Galahad would be this interesting at this point? And out he comes. And did you see Punk turn the microphone over ready like he's going to use it as a bludgeon?
Yeah, that was good. Because why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he if someone's coming in the ring that you have a problem with?
And you got one arm. Yeah. Or busting down your locker room door. You're going to try to be proactive, right? In such a situation. When you're hurt with a torn tricep, everybody tries to take advantage of him when he's got one wing. But Drew, he's so good now suddenly. And he sounds like a real person. And the delivery, he's thinking about this shit. But he said, I can relate. I can't do the accent. I've had my dreams taken away. Right? In the whole 9 yards. And he sounded emotional about what Punk had just said. And then one of the great lines I can remember. I've never been a spiritual person, but I want you to know I prayed for this and it happened. And the crowd go, oh, it was, and the delivery that he gave, it was fucking great. And then he says, I targeted you. I couldn't let it be you that got to my spot. You eliminated me and I couldn't sleep. And then I heard the news and I slept like a baby. And Punk's facials during hearing this, when Drew turned like that, it was fucking great too. And his reactions. And Drew told him he's going to go to WrestleMania some way or other and live your dream, Punk, again. And they get face to face, and Punk say, I'm going to get over this. And when I come back, I'm coming straight at you. And McIntyre swings at him and Punk ducks, but he's got one arm. He tries to fight. McIntyre gives him the headbutt, boom, and starts stomping the fucking torn, disfigured fucking tricep muscle. And I'm thinking, this is great. This is like wrestling, for God's sake. And then here comes Sami Zayn. It got a little bit less like wrestling because I'm thinking, God damn, if Drew McIntyre is kicking the shit out of me, and if anybody in the locker room, here comes Sami Zayn, I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm fucked. But there was a flurry, and he ran Drew off, and the referees and agents checked on Punk, and McIntyre was laughing. Oh, but again, another great he can do with one arm tied behind his back. He can do a better promo segment than 95% of the fucking rest of the business.
Great segment. Again, we don't know how long he'll be out. At least according to this, at least based on this, they're setting him up to be a babyface when he comes back against Drew. Because again, remember, he eliminated Cody Rhodes saying, I'm not going to lose to Cody's kid. I didn't come back to lose to Cody's kid. And then he got eliminated by him. I guess because he can't do anything for a while, they completely blew that off.
Well, they released backstage footage of Punk hugging Cody saying, "Finish your dream, young man," or whatever.
You said this injury ended up producing a great segment. It actually may have produced 2 great segments, because who knows how much of the Rollins-Cody thing would have happened if not for this.
Well, but God almighty, I do not. We'll get there. We'll get there. Rollins and Cody, but
Drew McIntyre also has become one of my favorite. He's become one of my favorite guys on promo segments in the company. His matches, at least who they're booking him with on this show, haven't really done it for me or got me really interested.
He's good enough in the ring. And
he's good in the ring. I'm not saying he isn't.
But also without the sword and the fucking, the whole apparatus. He's just a big guy with fucking dark hair and black tights and headbutts the shit out of people. I like that guy. They could, and then they could bring Wardlow in as his little nephew, Pismo.
If you're a company like WWE, does it soften the blow when someone like CM Punk, who you're paying a lot of money to, you have to imagine, comes in, multi-year deal, immediately gets hurt. He's coming off being hurt a few times, but you know that you're going to be able to sell merch with him.
Yeah.
While he's gone, he'll still be one of your biggest merch movers. Does that soften the blow?
Yes. I mean, the blow at this point, the billions of dollars, no one wrestler, no 5 wrestlers really, or 10 maybe, we could do the math, who knows, can be a blow to that company anymore. It can be to the creative team, to the people having to write and produce the actual program and all that stuff. Oh, God damn it. I mean, I was the night they pulled Sting off the cage and tore his ACL 2 weeks before Super Brawl in 1990 or whatever. Oh, God damn it.
Wrestle War,
whatever it was. They didn't have Super Brawl then. That's incessant in this business, but it can't be a blow to the company like, oh my God, hand wringing, what are we going to do? Because that's just, they're too big now. They got too much money. They can, who knows? We don't know the bookkeeping. Are they going to just break even maybe on Punk with merchandise sales and his intellectual property and likeness or whatever the fuck and a DVD? And then when he does come back,
they don't do DVDs anymore.
Well, a documentary or a program for the fucking streaming and however the kids are watching it on their teeth these days. I don't know. But all that type of thing and being in the program. And if he goes back to train some at NXT, then how valuable would that be just having him in the fucking training class? They'd have to pay him normally. Well, they're already paying him, but it's not going to be a blow to them. And then the inevitable, probably, when he does come back and do some commentary, maybe implement the idea you suggested. Do not cry for them, Argentina, as far as their bottom line on Punk.
The good thing, too, is you could put him on commentary. He'll settle in well. He'll do a good job. He could build to whatever. But no one, just like right now, no one will know exactly when he's healed. So it's a clever way to get him there, get him involved in stuff. He can always back off shit because he's injured. But no one will know when he's actually healed.
Yeah. And it will accept, hopefully they do before they know when he will be before they pull the trigger on it. But yeah, there's a bunch of different things that can happen. And when we went back and they showed the clips on, and I think some fan cam stuff on Twitter of, apparently it was during the double arm DDT spot with Drew McIntyre, that he tore the tricep, and you see him take a bump over and go over in the corner, and he's checking his arm and he's telling the referee something, blah, blah, blah. But so that means he did the rest of it, including after they got Drew and what's he out of there. And it was him and Cody for however long it was with one arm again. And he looked fatigued, but I didn't know injured when I first watched the Royal Rumble. And even though we know he was down at NXT training, anybody that keeps himself in good shape, there's good physical shape, good bodybuilding shape, good cardio shape. The only way you can stay in good wrestling shape is to wrestle. And he had put that in, I guess, at NXT, but it's not a regular thing. But I would doubt very seriously if he worked out with anybody the size of Drew McIntyre to then intertwine his arms with their arms, go over in fucking awkward positions. And that's probably where the tricep situation happened. And that's just shit that happens.
That's the other thing. Every single one of these guys that's had a segment with Drew McIntyre where they face off with him, he's a big fucking guy. You don't realize it until he faces off with everyone.
No, and that's the kind of thing with your arms intertwined with a guy that big and that much weight and going fucking south or whatever. That's when shit like that takes place. Nobody's particularly fault. But, you know, the luck aspect at this point is just, you know, and then again, when you look at the ridiculous shit that some people do and looks like it kills them and they pop right back up. And some of the biggest stars in both companies have been done in by routine shit. Whether it was fucking Cole jumping off the ramp or Charlotte did the goddamn, he was just trying to come off the top and they got flummoxed. Didn't even come off the top. Or what, all of these freak occurrences are, you know, more frequent, more frequent than ever before is the point I'm trying to make. Do you remember a period here recently or in any time in the modern era where this many top talents were hurt concurrently or consecutively?
I mean, there were periods in the early 2000s when a lot of guys were hurt, specifically with neck injuries and stuff, but right now, a lot of guys get hurt. You know, I always am concerned about, I always bring this up, guys like Punk or Danielson or anyone that age who takes a long time off and comes back, almost always they get hurt. And the style is so physical now.
Yeah.
It got away from everything. The wrestlers used to all be badasses, not hurting each other in the ring.
Yeah.
Now they're not badasses and they hurt each other left and right or they hurt themselves. You know, it's a hard...
I forgot about Danielson. Remember, he had a broken arm from a guy dropping an elbow on him. I think that may have been a first in fucking history.
Broken orbital socket, a broken arm, just one thing after another. It's really hard to not get injured, let alone if you've taken time off and you come back and you're in your early to mid 40s. That's rough. For this style of wrestling?
Well, anyway,
a double arm DDT is just a move to do in the middle of a battle royal. I mean,
well, you know, it's not as dangerous as some of the other shit. That was an old Tennessee rib, and Bobby Eaton did it a couple times. I saw him do it in Louisiana once. If you were in a battle royal and there was like a young kid, like a rookie, just starting out, first territory, hadn't been into business long, whatever, you'd go over and you'd grab him and you'd fucking put his arm around your head and have him get a headlock on you, right? And you'd call a spot. Drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, and you'd shoot the guy off in the middle of the ring, in the middle of his battle royal. And Bobby said invariably the kid would try, excuse me, pardon me, he'd be trying to run to the ropes to come back and do it. Excuse me, pardon me. And by the time he came halfway back, Bobby just turned and walked away, right? Anyway, so nevertheless, so we are punkless now on Raw, and that is not going to make this program certainly any more palatable.
No, which is one of the reasons why I thought he should have been on commentary, because it would have made the show more palatable, and he's really good at that role. But
then you devalue the investment that you can make by building a major box office attractions return by making him too much of a regular pretty face. But I agree with your idea that it could be a thing where as he begins to make his return, I'm fighting back, I'm, you know, getting better every day, he does some commentary and instigates something with somebody. Eventually, I mean, unless how old is he? I can't remember. 40
I
something.
think he's like a year older than me, so let's say 45.
Okay, at some point, whether that's 10 years from now or whatever, he's in a unique position where he could be as valuable to TKO in a commentary role for both of their companies. Think about this. With his verbal ability, his ability to bring a realism to everything, even in wrestling, as well as his experience in the UFC, such as it is, it's better than everybody who hadn't never been in the fucking UFC at all. He could be a big name like a Ventura or, whoever revolutionized color commentary and wrestling to your line of thinking out there in podcast land. Ventura, Lawler, Piper, whatever the fuck, for both companies, a personality with background in both as a color commentator for both companies' mega events. See there?
I see there. And, CM Punk's going to have a lot of time on his hands, and he's going to be rehabbing his injury and thinking about things. I think the one thing that he could take with him throughout all these journeys is music. Music's always there for us, but you need the right earbuds to hear it. And we have a suggestion for CM Punk right now.
Well, wherever you go, you need to hear the music. You need to march to the beat of your own drummer. You need to conduct your own orchestra. You need to go where you want to go, do what you want to do while listening to whatever you want to listen to. And that, of course, is possible and only possible with the Raycon Everyday Earbuds. You may see other people trying to sell you earbuds. Well, don't listen to them because they're expensive. And they don't work near as well from what I hear from all of the people that give these Raycon wireless earbuds the tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. So who are you to doubt some random person on the internet? And you can use the Raycon Everyday Earbuds that have the perfect in-ear fit, by the way, so you can put them in your match and just take backdrops and body slams and tic-tackles and flip-flops, and don't worry about them falling out when you take bumps.
Not suggested, and let's also just say it's not suggested you take any bumps or do anything like that high impact with these in your ear.
Well, they could end up coming out your nose, or like Cactus did, you might lose a tooth up through your nasal passages, but you would hear all kinds of good music until it happened. As a matter of fact, maybe stick these in your ear and have somebody call the match for you. But nevertheless, you've got a 8 hours of playtime. See, they're making the playtime longer and the size of the copy smaller. 8 hours of playtime, a 32-hour battery life on these things. You can listen to the entire In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida recording session on these things' battery life, for heaven's sake. And they're used to feeling the love, the love from the fans. As I mentioned, they've got the thousands of 5-star reviews, but you can also hook these things up for potentially all types of, erotic bedroom talk with your mate if you do it right. So you got that going for you. The customizable sound profiles are not listed here, but they have them. And they've got earbud tap function.
Tap function. Ladies and gentlemen, that's another thing we can't guarantee with your Raycon. There's no tap function.
They've got the tap functions where you can just tap the earbuds and it makes them function in various ways. Noise isolation. You can just shut out all noise in the world and be impervious. Or you can put on the awareness mode and you can instantly be at one with nature and aware of all your surroundings. But it's Valentine's Day coming up, so even if you just want to give her something to listen to, oh, God damn it.
Like a ringing telephone.
Yeah.
Or hanging up on a telephone.
So it's Valentine's Day, and even if you just want to give her something to listen to instead of you having to talk to her, or vice versa, go to buyraycon.com right now. That's BUYRAYCON.com/JCE, and you're going to get 15% off and free shipping on everything on the site. As a matter of fact, you get 15% off the site If you want to buy the website, buyraycon.com, right? Just go /JCE. They'll let you have the run of the place. You can own the website, 15% off.
Website not for sale. Website's not for sale. There's no shipping on a website. The website's not for sale.
Well, I'm telling you what, Cornette's Collectibles made several $1,000s last year on shipping websites.
What?
Yes, I'll clue you in on that. Hotchkiss has got another invention.
Oh, no.
He's mailing websites to people, but he's charging shipping. Anyway, right now, folks, buyraycon.com /JCE, 15% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. You can listen to music. You can listen to the Super Bowls coming up. You don't have to listen to your spouse or significant other, whichever one's the biggest selling point. Jump on that and do it. And don't forget about the gel tips. These things will massage your inner ear, and you can actually get the deluxe models, and they vibrate.
That's right. That's gel tip function.
That's the gel tip function of the whole thing. Raycon.
That's right. What's that promo code? One more time, Jim.
JCE, Brian.
That's right. Once again, promo code JCE. But with that, Jim, let's get back to Monday Night Raw.
Thank you, Bob Luce. So, I'm not liking the Judgment Day planning meetings in the back where they publicly just go over in a conversational tone all of the business they're going to transact. And they had Finn and Priest against Ciampa and Sameface, and of course the heels win.
Hold on. Can I say something about this, though?
Yes.
They did a few different things here, and it stuck out to me for the first time here in terms of production. Before the match, Ciampa and Gargano were like talking to the camera while walking to the ring.
Yes, they did that a couple weeks ago.
And at other points, the female backstage interviewer was almost conducting a real backstage interview as opposed to, I'm going to introduce myself, and this other person's going to awkwardly walk in now, and then we'll pause. And now here's an awkward question. So there are little changes like that I'm noticing, but I noticed it here. And I know what you think of them, and I'm not a big fan either. But it was a good match because I had a hot crowd for this.
Well, I love Ciampa, but Sameface cancels him out for me. And I think it prevents anybody from taking Ciampa seriously at more than a underneath middle level. Not only the way they present him, his talent is great. But why would he be partners with this little fucking worm, right?
Well, the other thing, you kind of poisoned them with me when you brought up last week. Why are they DIY? Are they handymen? What is their gimmick?
Yeah,
exactly?
Do it yourself because nobody else will do it for you.
What are they doing exactly?
We don't know. So, but then they call R-Truth to the ring, and Priest and R-Truth do comedy. And I'm not going to go over it except that Priest is not a comedian. And I don't think he should be. And R-Truth is a comedian, and I don't think he should be doing comedy with Priest and this top heel group. But basically, sooner or later, JD jumps on R-Truth, and The Miz makes the save. So now we're talking about Miz and R-Truth against the Judgment Day? And then the heels beat everybody up. But I liked I liked 3/5 of the Judgment Day or whatever the fucking fraction was, and that's dribbling away every week that they do this shit.
JD is growing on me because if you watch what he actually does, he's pretty good. But the R-Truth stuff was, I guess, building to this when they started beating him. I'm thinking, all right, someone has to make the save. Who the hell could it be? Like, they're not going to waste a really big one on this, I don't think. And then it was The Miz, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can kind of understand what they're maybe thinking. Mm-hmm. And then he got beat down, too. And no one else saved any of them. So, we'll see. I mean, Miz and R-Truth in a tag title feud against the Judgment Day. It's not one of the worst things on the show, but...
And JD may grow on you, but so did the fucking intergalactic green shit on Stephen King and Creepshow. Yes,
That's a crazy movie.
Anyway, then we had Chelsea and Piper versus Shayna and Zoe. And then finally we got to 9 o'clock where we could have another big dramatic reading by, the Oliviers and the Barrymores of the industry. We got Cody and Seth Franklin. And Cody comes out. He gets the chance. You deserve it. You deserve it. He won the Rumble. There's a ton of signs there because they're in Tampa, so do it for Dusty. And what do we want to talk about actually got a response out of him, right? And then he had the announcer announce him as the Rumble winner again and got a big pop. And then part of this started out like Cody was going to be doing a real heartfelt promo a la what Punk had done earlier, but in his more potentially eloquent and florid and verbose manner.
Practiced. Pretentious.
Workshopped.
Workshopped.
And he alluded to that he'd had a rough 48 hours in his personal life, but he didn't explain, but everybody's okay, but just that he needed you guys on Saturday, the fans, that is. And so I don't know what, but then about WrestleMania, let's make it official. And then suddenly, boom, Seth Franklin Rollins music. And Seth is now doing the thing where he limp dances because he's got when we were talking about people hurt, we forgot about him earlier. He's hurt too. In effect, he's got a torn MCL and torn cartilage. He won't be wrestling probably until WrestleMania. And then I still maintain they'll probably do something he won't go 30 minutes and, goddamn just cartwheel across the ring. But obviously we had thought going into this before things started happening again that we were going to get Cody and Roman and Seth and Punk. Well, then Seth got hurt, but he said, I'm going to go to WrestleMania. So then Punk said, hold my beer, I'll get hurt worse, right? So now they were both hurt. So now does this mean they're going to change the match between the two guys that are healthy? Because Seth's story, he congratulated Cody and he shook his hand, but then he told Cody that if Cody picks Roman to challenge, he's going to be making a mistake and he should fight him instead. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then Seth says, now hear me out. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck. Now this is going to take a while too, right? And it did. And the story that Seth is trying to convince Cody to pick him instead of Roman is that Roman Reigns isn't the guy anymore. I'm the guy. This is the title in WWE. No, it's not. And he went on and on trying to make this case that he can't make. And he's wanting Cody to challenge for, and he's wanting these people to see this match defend a title that's 6 months old. And he's saying the reason is because Roman never shows up. It's basically like he can't figure out any other way than to say Roman never shows up because he's too big a star and nobody can beat him. And he's got the real title, so they gave me this one because I'll work often and wrestle a bunch of people. How does that make sense?
This is the belt for people who like to work. If you just like to collect money and stay home, you should go for that other belt.
Yes, this is the belt where you got to get beat up every fucking week. And it's not the lineage of either of the real world titles they've been running around here for the past decades. And then he tried to tear down the biggest star in the company in the process. We don't need Roman Reigns was a quote. In the WCW days, that would have instituted a lawsuit or a backstage fight.
That did stand out, how hard he was hitting the actual champion of WWE, just because usually they wouldn't want anyone hitting another guy like the champion.
Yes.
Like that.
He said, do you want the Hollywood title, the Hulk Hogan title for the Politickers, or the Dusty Rhodes title? Oh my God, do you want the Hulk Hogan title Jesus Christ, in the company that made Hulk Hogan the biggest star in the world when he had that title. It's a goddamn.
We're celebrating 40 years after Hulk Hogan changed their business by becoming champion.
You don't want that fucking thing. So he says
Or do you want the Dusty belt, the belt that he held 3 times for 9 days or whatever it is?
Yeah, well, and not even that. Do you want the title that he held up over his head in the picture that has haunted Cody for 50 fucking years? And Seth actually says the world title is about who's best between these ropes. How is the other one not? They have the same kind of matches with the same rules, contested the same way. And the other guy's been champion longer and beat more people. What the fuck? In kayfabe or real, it doesn't make any sense. And the upshot was Seth wants him to think about it, and Cody says that he would think about it. And that was it. God damn it. So now we went from 2 matches that we really wanted to see to potentially Cody and Seth that I don't think anybody wants to see.
Well, I think this has to be a swerve.
It better be.
And if it is, it's a great segment. And if you told Seth Rollins or anyone, go out there and try to make some sense of this, and this is what got spit out, this is a pretty good job. Because again, it's a bullshit title that was made up, that one guy has held. So you can't really pitch it. This is the belt your dad would have wanted. It just wasn't created when he was alive. It was a good I'll say this, Rollins, for all the times I kill him, when he is serious, he's great.
But he had nothing to work with. It's like the greatest fucking bank robber of all time being sent in with a water pistol.
And remember, right before the Rumble, they set up Gunther with an injured Rollins. Remember, he said, I may win the Rumble, come for you. So they're definitely putting interesting segments that will draw ratings between characters talking to each other on TV. Sometimes it may not lead to something right away. I got to think that's what it is, that Cody's going to come back and now you can really build up. He will make his big announcement, as opposed to just he's going to say what he was going to do is fight Roman. Now you have a couple weeks to milk it.
Maybe I'm just shell-shocked from the old days when they probably would have done something like this.
You want the Hulk Hogan? What do you think Hulk Hogan's there? What the fuck?
but yeah, odd. Do you want the belt the guy had when he was the biggest star in the fucking business by far, or do you want the one that I've got now that they gave to me 6 months ago? The fuck. All right, should we move on through Raw?
Yeah.
Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed, your thoughts?
I had to take a break after that last segment and get something to eat.
Okay, well then Gunther, our boy, wrestled Kofi Kingston in an Intercontinental title defense, and I was actually going to attempt. Gunther's always great, and everything he does is close to natural and something that he should do as anybody I've ever seen. But they go a minute maybe to the break. They were gone for 3.5 minutes. They came back for 3 more minutes. They went to another break. And they came back from that after about 3.5 minutes. It just all broke up. Another 3 minutes or whatever the fuck. Gunther with a power bomb, 1, 2, 3. And then the Da Vinci and Kaiser got in there and got heat on Woods and Kofi and ran Woods into the ring post. But they're trying to make them more serious, put more heat on them. I'm all in favor of that, but I can't even watch Gunther when they're just, we're back here for a minute, we're gone. We're back here for a minute, we're gone. You know what I mean?
I do, but I did think the action they showed was pretty good. Gunther has the ability to, almost every one of his matches, I have a moment where I think, I think they may beat him. Maybe they're actually going to do it tonight.
He shows vulnerability well when it's called for.
And then it doesn't happen, and I'm like, I was so stupid. Why did I think they would ever do that? But he's really good at showing that in his or doing that in his matches, and this was a good match. For what they showed on TV, it was good. There are 3 Imperium members. There are 2 active New Day members. I haven't heard anything about Big E if he's healthy enough to come back, but I wonder what else they could be doing.
You're saying they need a New Day?
They need someone, right? If it can't be 2 on 3, look what happened to R-Truth and The Miz.
I think they're setting it up for Da Vinci and Kaiser and the two guys and blah, blah, blah. But talking about, that's why they call them false finishes, because the people are supposed to think that's the finish. And great heels throughout the history of the business have been able to get people into, hey, he's almost got him. He's almost got him. And Gunther knows how to do it logically, where it looks like and it appears that might be it. But at the same point, he's not getting up after being shot with a fucking cannon. So, he's a natural. But unnaturally, then we followed with Oscar and Kairi Sane against Natty and Tegan. And then an in-ring promo with all of Bayley's bunch. And Rhea came out and started to tell them off, but the refrigerator jumped Rhea from behind in the aisleway and then threw her in the ring and leg dropped her and bonsai'd her while Bayley and all of her girls watched. And then all of Bayley's girls got out of the ring and left Bayley in the corner to be intimidated by the refrigerator. And I wish that Rhea wasn't involved in any of this. And maybe they can get something out of her body slamming fucking refrigerator jacks and leg dropping her like Hogan and Andre. Hopefully at WrestleMania, that's what will happen. But otherwise, Bayley's crew, it takes 3 of them to make one of Jax. But at the same time, we always talk about, I'm saying, well, they're not credible because they're so small, but Jax is the female Playboy Frazier. She's too fucking big. I've said it's like working with a fucking waterbed with arms and legs. So, if she could talk and exhibit some kind of working menace, I'm talking about Jax. If she could talk and exhibit evil and working menace instead of you just being afraid she is a menace because she's going to fall on somebody and hurt them. That's not working menace. That's real menace. Otherwise, that fucking voice and the whole 9 yards, it just bleh.
They should give her the Young Bucks gimmick. But instead of like, I'm an EVP, it should be like, I'm the cousin of The Rock. You have to do what I say. Like, make her a dick like that. I was hoping Jade was going to make a save here. Jade just body slammed Nia Jax out of the ring in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, but I think they found out that she ain't ready to be let loose on her own on live TV in this environment.
Let loose on live TV? Like, what is Jade going to do? Jade, compared to some of the girls they have on there, would do all right.
Well, it was rough in the Rumble with old Liv Morgan. I'm just saying, the thing is, with the way they built her up, she can't just be in there and be better than some of the girls. She has to look fucking great. And they have to orchestrate that and manipulate it. And if they don't feel like she's ready to do what they need her to do, then they're not going to pull the trigger on it and make everybody think, that's kind of a letdown.
Have we ever seen Rhea Ripley beat down like this?
No, and I'm not sure I want to see any more of it. It's part of the mystique. Mommy's always on top. But unfortunately, old Refrigerator Jax was sitting on Mommy's face.
And again, in terms of swerves or where they're going to go, it's not even a swerve, just you don't know what direction they're going to go. Is Bayley going to challenge Rhea, who is coming down there to tell her she better not?
Well, not after Refrigerator Jax told her that, goddamn, this is not going to happen this way. She says Rhea's not going to make it to WrestleMania.
So is that going to be what it is? She challenges her own damage control partner out of fear of Nia Jax?
Well, wouldn't you? The other girl's 5 foot fucking nothing, weighs 96 pounds.
Yeah, you have a point.
There you go. Speaking of points, we are pointed toward the main event, which was Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. Speed versus power. Agility versus strength and size. To the break in under a minute and a half. And then, Sami Zayn sells great. His body language, I've always said that. Even when he was the mute luchador. And they had a pretty good match for the time they had left and did some big moves, 2 counts, etc. And then Basically you knew what was going to happen, but they had a great little spot in the finish where Drew's in the corner and Sammy goes for his haluva kick. And Drew ducked and covered his head up, but when he did, Sammy kicked over him and Drew more or less punched Sammy in the balls. And Sammy sold it, and then Drew came out of the corner with the kick, 1, 2, 3. So that was an inventive little finish. I like that. And otherwise, it was a nice little WWE TV main event. And that's all we can expect these days. But the two big promo segments, and there you go. And that was 3 hours of our lives.
Oh boy, that was Monday Night Raw. Well, Jim, let's move on. But before we get to AEW or anything else, we'll see what we talk about here. Let's get some Vince McMahon news.
Oh, God.
This is from the Hollywood Reporter. The head of Netflix, what's the exact title? The content chief, Bella Bajaria, a woman, her photo is here. She did an interview. They asked her about WWE, and I'll read what it says here. This is from the Hollywood Reporter by Leslie Goldberg. Bajaria wasted little time when asked if she had any concerns about McMahon following the unseemly allegations that surfaced about the now former WWE exec a mere 2 days.
Unseemly?
Unseemly allegations that surfaced about the now former WWE exec a mere 2 days after Netflix's a mere 2 days after after Netflix announced the deal that would bring Raw to the streamer next January.
They were blown off the front pages of this $5 billion deal news by Vince McMahon and his unseemly, it sounds like he farted at dinner, unseemly conduct.
Well, here's a quote from Bajaria. He's gone. So he's not there. He's gone. So that's what Netflix thinks.
That was the quote.
That's the quote. Are you guys concerned about Vince McMahon? Does it change anything? He's gone. So obviously, if anyone thought this would be something that would hurt the Netflix deal, and I don't know how it could, contractually, obviously it doesn't look like it will.
He's gone. Oh, you better learn how to face it. He's gone. Oh, I mean, the Slim Jim thing was one thing, but Netflix, $5 billion, and this is a female executive in charge of the thing, they better be glad he was gone by the time that somebody got to ask her the question, because it might have been a different answer if he was still there. And how did we start the week off and think that anything was going to blow the Netflix news out of the water? $5 billion. They'll be broadcasting WWE program on everybody's computer in the goddamn known civilized world, and 3 days later, nobody's thinking about it.
Well, that's one of the stories out there. The other one, and I'm looking for the exact quote here from someone, but I saw something here.
I have a book here of quotations from a lot of people.
Apparently, the lawyer for Janelle Grant has said that other people have now started reaching out to them. Other people who have something to say or something happened to them have reached out. So, like we've said, this can't be an isolated... You wouldn't think this is an isolated thing.
How did he have time for more?
Since this story broke, it's difficult to even think back to a lot of the things on WWE TV and not think like, man, I knew he was like a weird guy, but clearly he's like a really fucked up guy into humiliating people.
The whole Kiss My Ass Club and the Bark Like a Dog and the whole 9 yards.
Everything. The fucking polka dots. I mean, what was that about? It was about humiliating Dusty Rhodes, let's be honest. So, I mean, he's always been an Adrian Adonis being told to be gay but also be in drag, which... I mean, it was just such a weird character. That was all Vince. It was all about humiliation. So obviously, there's always been a sense of this, and you look back to some of the things he said. Sometimes in life you have to eat shit and like it. Right? Like various things, and you're like, man, this guy, master manipulator, people didn't realize just how evil he was. Every now and then a wrestler would say, he's an evil guy, and people would be like, oh, well, Bruno's just pissed off. Bruno was right. Bruno was right. Any comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of what Bruno would think about this right now. I have nothing. I have nothing. I don't know what to say about this whole thing anymore. But if they have other people that are going to tell similar, or at least stories in a similar vein, or similarly disturbing or disgusting, or damaging to his whatever might be left of his reputation, this could take a long fucking time. Brian, I knew that a lot of people in the wrestling business would hate Vince for the rest of their lives for putting them out of business or changing the business in a lot of the wrong ways or whatever. We knew a lot of wrestling inside people would hate Vince or think Vince was an asshole after he was gone. But did he do the best job ever, right as he's can't be more than a few years away from everybody thinking about Vince's legacy? This is the only thing people are going to think of. He has fucking buried himself with, he's not chronologically got enough time left on the earth to redeem himself over this.
It's like he returned back to the trailer park. He returned back to being a Lupton, not a McMahon. I don't know what to say about this. It's insane.
Except nobody cares what goes on with the people in the trailer park. It's only when you're an internationally known billionaire that you can't get away with this shit.
Well, on the topic of the Vince McMahon scandal, of course, John Laurinaitis has been tied into this. We have a comment here that a lot
Where is he right now?
I don't know, but I remember a year ago, I don't want to name names because it's someone I like. Someone booked him for an event. They tried to make a big deal out of it. Look who's coming. And I'm thinking, man, that may not be the best idea. Either now or in the future. That may not be a good idea.
Well, and then after that booking, actually so many people decided they didn't want to see John Laurinaitis and made that known that they canceled the booking. And that's the last time I've heard his name being bandied about in the public sphere. Is it you?
Pretty much. Well, here's a quote that a lot of people, like I said, have been sending in to us. A lot of the listeners, they want to know what you thought about this. From the Bellas, or the Garcias, as they are now called, their actual names, who are the stepdaughters of John Laurinaitis. He married their mother. Is that here or there?
No, that's Harley.
I was going to say, whoa.
The next door neighbors.
That was not the Bellas, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that was not a comment from the Bellas.
Here's a comment from the Bellas. All of a sudden, the dog starts barking.
God damn it. The next door neighbors, their kids have brought the whole carload of dogs over. Harley hears the dogs barking in the driveway over there and is barking now. It is probably, would you like to say what the Bellas said and we'll have Harley translated into dog language?
Well, we may have to mute Harley while I read the quote here. Harley, you can feel free to return and opine shortly. But here's a quote from the Bellas. We are shocked and disheartened with the recent allegations against members of the WWE. It has been a lot to process since we found out this past week, just as you all did. This is something we don't stand for or condone from anyone, no matter who they are. We want all women to feel safe and supported in the workplace and in their everyday lives. And, quote, very little use of commas. I added my own there in the middle of this thing, but what are your thoughts? Some fans, some listeners have thought that they didn't say enough. That saying it's allegations against members of the WWE is a little ridiculous when it's your stepfather. What are your thoughts?
There wasn't a lot.
Should they have to say anything?
Well, yes, because I'm sure they would like to say more, but they're being respectful of their mother. But a lot of people were wanting to know what they would say or hear what they would say, including Harley over here. As we get to the serious topic, this is when Harley goes off her nut. The thing is, yes, it's their stepfather, not their father. This is a man that their mother met through their employment, right? They didn't exist in the same social circles until
Did he hire them?
probably. Because remember in OVW, Laurinaitis was seeing models in lingerie catalogs, finding their agents and getting them tryouts where he would send them to OVW. At one time, we had Danny Davis called me up laughing, said they just had the girl hit the ropes and she fell faint and fucking passed out and had got the vapors and had to go sit down and rest and whatever. Because they were lingerie catalog models. And I'm not saying that's the Bellas, but I'm saying that Laurinaitis was doing that as soon as they made him. This is when I was still with OVW. And I don't even know if I saw some of the girls that he sent down because they didn't last long enough. They did just one or two classes or whatever. But so he definitely, I'm just saying he definitely was the head of talent relations when they were hired, whether he signed them or scouted them or whatever. And he met their mother through their employment. So this is a grown adult man that came in their life and started a relationship with their mother that has now made these headlines. What would you want to say? Unless you were being respectful for your poor mother who has to goddamn bear up under this public fucking scrutiny. Huh?
It's crazy. And when you think about it, too, Laurinaitis becomes the head of talent relations. You have to think, I mean, the way people always said, if you got fired, people would say, oh, Johnny Ace fucked me over. No, Vince. Vince is the one who said you're fired, not Johnny Ace.
Right.
With the women that were being scouted and hired, knowing what we know now, clearly that wasn't just Johnny Ace doing what Johnny Ace wanted. Johnny Ace was doing what would make Vince happy. Just so happened to make Johnny Ace happy, too.
Well, yeah, and by the same, speaking of making people happy, that's why I'm saying that the Bella twins, the Garcia twins, they've got no goddamn, lifelong attachment to John Laurinaitis. Yes, he could be a charming, fucking young man with his smile and everything, and looks good in a suit, but they've known him for what? He's been married to their mother less than 10 years. They've worked there, 15 maybe?
He married her in 2016. They got married.
Okay, they've known him for 15 years, and he's only been their stepfather for fucking 7. So this is not a lifelong devotion to a blood member of the family. I'm sure that they're not pleased with whatever the fuck's been going on, and that their mother has to undergo all this publicity, but they can't just come out and say, fuck this fucking guy, because that would be just as bad too. So,
but you have to think, remember, he got fired in 2022, tied to all the hush money payments and everything. That's when we first heard his name tied to this. He's been home for 1.5 years since then. 2 years. They haven't said, give us the details, what happened, what cost you your job, your name, everything else.
Well, I'm sure they probably got some details, but that's like asking the fucking delinquent student to go home and tell their parents what fucking happened to get them to the principal's office. Are they going to sugarcoat those details? Of course they are. They're not going to be, well, this girl, I got involved in Vince's stuff. It's all Vince's fault. Who knows what he said? But I'm sure he didn't say any of this.
I wonder if he's going to flip on Vince.
Well, it may be better than the things Vince has done on him.
All right.
We can't do. I'm sorry. It's fucking preposterous.
It is. And when you think about their age, it becomes even more preposterous. Johnny Ace is in his 60s and Vince is in his late 70s.
No, hold on. Johnny Ace can't be as old as I am.
Well, he was Animal's younger brother. Animal was older than you, right?
Well, maybe a year or two. Look that up. Certainly. And again, what's he on? What kind of fucking supplements is this guy taking that he's
61?
Jesus Christ. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday? Fuck. How about March, June, and fucking October? Idiots.
Well, let's move away from the McMahon drama for at least right now, and let's get to the good old-fashioned drama of recent times that is AEW. Although, kind of starting to miss the days of AEW drama. It's becoming more and more boring every week. You surprised me telling me you watched it already. I didn't think we were going to do it. I didn't even watch the whole show. But let's talk about AEW Dynamite.
Well, the reason why that I watched it is because I knew it wouldn't take me long and I could get it over with. Kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? What? By the way, I have some trivia information. Hold on here. Let me trivialize my information. When we were doing one of the Mid-South segments from my schedule 40 years ago, we were talking about New Orleans, and the Lakefront Arena came up. That's where they were, the UNO, University of New Orleans Lakefront Arena. And somebody had just tweeted me a few days ago. We talked about they just started running the Lakefront Arena in 1984 when we had gotten there. And I assumed it was a new building. Turns out it opened in 1983. So I did remember correctly, the show that we were on was the first wrestling show that they had run there. Having said that, the first show that I was on in 1984 there in that building drew over 5,000 people when New Orleans was running every fucking week. And on this telecast, the stage keeps getting bigger, the arena keeps getting darker, and the crowd keeps getting smaller. It was like they were shooting wrestling in an airplane hangar. And not only is the life out of a lot of this, and these are the diehard AEW fans who went there to chant, regardless whether they gave them anything to chant for or not, but the life is out of the guys in the ring. They can tell. Even if they don't know, they can tell. They can tell. This was like indie guys having spot show matches where they want to do all the goofy shit they normally do, but they don't really want to get hurt for this crowd. So they just do it half-ass. Does that make any sense to you from what you witnessed?
It does, and it's becoming a hard show. I said it a few weeks ago. I said AEW feels dead right now, and it does. For the record, the UNO Lakefront Arena, there were 2,236 tickets distributed.
Ooh.
The last time they were there was April 13th, 2022 for Dynamite. Back then, they did 3,655 people.
Well, the building holds about 8,000 something, so it's not a fucking ringing endorsement to begin with, but, you know, again, it's making it hard now. When Moxley did his entrance through the arena, they had tight shots and cameras scrambling to not show 3/4 of the building. So he walked through the one side. You could tell they'd kind of walked through his walkthrough where he knew the places to go that they could shoot. And then the opening match is Moxley versus Jeff Hardy. And what is this? You know, for the fucking rehab championship. This shit writes itself. Who the fuck ever thought this match would be a good idea considering the state of both of these individuals in the modern era? Why would you? It was sadder than last week with Jeff against Swerve because at least Swerve could provide some movement. And I know now they're trying to turn Jeff heel and Matt heel because I guess they've figured, oh, shit. You know, Tony's booking has buried us from the start. We got to do something. But no, that ain't it. Jeff Hardy was never a great technical worker, but he had fire and he had intensity and he had the gimmick with the outlandish personality and the daredevil shit that appealed to that generation. And then they did the tables, ladders, and chairs. And now he's 40 whatever, and he's hurt. And they can't do the tables, ladders, and chairs because everybody else is anyway. And you just see the sloppiness and the fact that half his shit doesn't connect. And it didn't matter. It wasn't connecting because Moxley didn't sell it anyway. And so you've got Jeff in that state who doesn't need to be having long singles matches with anybody. And then you've got Moxley, who has been shit at least since AEW started. We never watched the Dean Ambrose, right? But Moxley can't do anything with a good worker. So this was fucking ugly with Jeff in his current state. And to try to make up for it, within the first minute, they were on the floor and Sockface is blathering about they've relaxed the rules because people have been waiting so long to see this dream matchups that the referee is going to take a relaxed approach. Meaning what because they're not capable at this point of doing anything else but the indie shit that everybody else does and can do because it's easier. Jeff used to be, he's not anymore. Moxley never has been. So they booked a match to open up their television program where they're getting absolutely drubbed in the fucking ratings, more on that later, by a variety of shit, with a bad match that you would know is going to be bad to begin with two guys whose styles do anything but complement each other, and then say, okay, well, we'll just relax the rules because you can't do it otherwise, so you could be sloppy and garbage at the same time. And they're on the floor forever with the pace of an arthritic snail. And nobody was counted out. And Moxley was both treating him like a jobber, selling nothing and beating him up most of the time, and obviously calling shit for him every 30 seconds. I talk to you, Brian, less than Jon Moxley talked to Jeff Hardy in this fucking match. And
I say about as much back to you as Jeff Hardy said back to Jon Moxley.
There you go. And Moxley was at half speed, and Jeff shit wouldn't break an egg. And then they got back on the floor, and the announcers were fumfering their fucking billboards on their graphics of upcoming matches. And Moxley gets tossed over the rail into the CMLL guys. There were 4 masked luchadors that we've never heard of fucking before.
No, 3. There was one who was unmasked.
I'm sorry. 3 masked, 1 unmasked. Don't know who the fuck they were. But they were sitting there because now there's something going on with CMLL. So they shoved Moxley, and Moxley gave him the finger. And then they fought some more, Jeff and Moxley, on the floor and went to the break. And I'm like, my God, this is already unbearable. It's like they're in quicksand. And when they came back from the break, Moxley had an ink pen he stole from the announcers, and he was sticking it through the piercing hole in Jeff's ear and twisting it. And I wrote at that point, has there ever been a worse pro wrestler than Jon Moxley? Rhetorical question, but the answer is, I don't think so. But that pissed Jeff off, so he made a comeback throwing punches at the air near Moxley's head. They did some sloppy slow motion shit, and Moxley did his Billy Badass bow up. And you could tell Moxley is pissed this match is this bad because he knows what Jeff can and can't do. And he was approaching it like, well, I can't put my all into this because this guy's the shits and it's going to make me look bad. When he already looks worse than most people to begin with, trying his best. And finally, Moxley choked him out. And then tried to shake his hand. Jeff gave him the finger and left. And then all the Mexicans jumped in 4-on-1 and kicked the shit out of Moxley and security until Chris Daniels, Mac Daddy, Cool Hand Luke, and somebody I couldn't fucking see hit the ring and ran him off. What the fuck was this all about?
It definitely stood out when they made the save. Like, what is this group? Why are these the guys running out there? Chris Daniels is never on this show. The match was terrible. Moxley's a horrible wrestler. There are people who love him, and that because of that, they love his style. His matches are terrible. This match wasn't any better. And Jeff Hardy's shot, so why not let him go a while? The big problem is
23 minutes into the show by the time this was over with.
Hey, this match would have been a different story 3 years ago because it would have been a bigger crowd and a hotter crowd. But when you have a match like this in front of a small crowd in a big building, you know what I mean? And it was a hot crowd, all things considered. They let them get away with a lot more than I think the more recent AEW crowds would have.
If they've been in New York or Chicago, there'd have been some ugliness.
It's getting ugly. I mean, the crowd, there's nothing turning anything around. And You think, okay, this will be the week they try to do something different on TV and address any of the problems, and they double down on all the problems.
You know what else this would have been 3 years ago? How it would have been better. People would have seen 3 years less of Moxley. Can he ever do anything different than this garbage bullshit? No, the answer is he can't. He's not capable of it. When he tries, it looks like shit. But, oh my God.
Well, that was Jon Moxley versus Hardy, and now this sets up the big feud with the guys from CMLL. It creates an interesting dynamic on the show because I believe CMLL won't allow any of their wrestlers on a show if AAA wrestlers are there. And there are a plethora of AAA wrestlers in AEW.
Who are the AAA wrestlers?
I think like Commander or some of the other guys.
Oh, good Lord.
I don't even know because I have gotten, I'm not a big fan of modern Lucha Libre.
But now Andrade, he's gone, so he won't beat any of them up.
That's true.
All right, continuing on if we have to. Hangnail Page in a pick your poison match against the Samoan feller, Tia Leone. And this was Swerve picked Hangnail's match, and Hangnail picked Swerve's match later on. So, I mean, I don't care because I know what's going to happen. I don't like Page. I think he's boring as fuck. But in fast forward, it looked like the Samoan kicked the shit out of him. And then finally, he hit a stiff Samoan drop on Page, and Page just rolled him up 1, 2, 3. So probably one of the more painful, debilitating Samoan drops that's been given in a worked match led to the guy not selling any of it and just rolling the guy up 1, 2, 3. But again, long and nonsensical because who gives a shit? Who gives it? We don't want Page to succeed. So we want Swerve to get the match, right? Because Swerve's the most popular heel in the company. So, and they're all cheering for him. Page is just getting in the way. So did anybody want to see this Samoan knock Page out of contention? Well, yes, but that's not the dynamic you're supposed to have when you put an evil heel henchman against a babyface wanting a title shot. Is it?
This is the match I'm actually waiting to see in the ratings more than anything else because it's Adam Page, but it's also against an opponent who they gave it a lot of TV time, but Tia Leone, whatever his name is, it's not exactly someone who stands out on this show so far.
Ooh.
So, yeah, this didn't do it for me.
All righty. Well, Matthew and Nicholas, the Jackson boys, Matthew and Nicholas, there's a pre-tape of them in the parking lot out back earlier today. They pull up in a stretch SUV, and the announcers even said, and I'm pretty sure this was a shoot, is that good use of company resources? And they fine one of the production assistants $500 for calling them Matt and Nick. And they're going to be on, I think, one more time later in the night, not in front of the people. And for this, Tony Khan is remunerating them 7 figures a year.
And allowing them to do this stuff, which is what they want. There were 1,000 different ways you could have brought the Young Bucks back onto this show to try to get some value out of them. This is driving more people away. And it's not good. And it's really not good. And it just shows you how much of the bad shit in AEW that's come from that camp is just because this is their sensibilities. They think this is what wrestling should be. Goofy, fake characters. Whatever you want to say about the wrestling, the characters, everyone shouldn't feel like a fake person putting on an act. But now somehow Maddie and Nikki here, they have managed to go for a twofer. They look fake and phony as characters while still acting like the smarmy douchebags that they are in real life that doesn't make people want to see more of them as heels, but makes one of them see less of them as human beings. So they're both real and fake at the same time, whichever one is more detrimental to their company and their fucking presentation. I became more and more convinced watching this episode that considering especially all the tickets were already sold, they should have just done Big Bill and Starks against Sting and Darby as the main event of that pay-per-view. That probably would have worked a whole lot better. But
yes, and because this ain't gonna be it, Chief, as the kids say. But we got to get there first. Did you love what they did to Wardlow? Is this a rib on Wardlow now?
You're talking about the guy landing on his face?
Well, no, I'm talking about booking Wardlow versus Commander. Wardlow is the one guy in the group with Cole is crippled, and he's in a wheelchair, and he was revealed to be the devil. So his minions are Taven and Bennett, who did comedy, and Roddy, who did comedy for weeks and months, and nobody gives a shit about them. But Wardlow's the one guy that has had some type of interest from the fans in the past. So they book him on TV against Commander, a guy that he can't have a match and beat without looking bad because it's fucking preposterous. And they can't put these things together. Even if he'd have power bombed him in fucking 30 seconds, fine, right? But instead, they have Wardlow manhandle him, but they're in slow motion too. And then after Wardlow toys with him for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, they go to the floor and Commander starts getting offense. And a bunch of parkour bullshit later, Wardlow is bumping for this guy. So I knew they couldn't even. And obviously, finally, Wardlow's going to win, but not until, as you mentioned, Commander Idiot and his fucking 25th century Space Raiders did a flipping 720-degree some fucking thing or other off the top rope and landed with his knees across the side of Wardlow's face. He got a 2 count, and then Wardlow took back over and powerbombed him. And in the process, somehow tweaked his knee. Wardlow, that is. So instead of just powerbombing his fucking little putts in a minute, like he should have, or not having the match at all, like they should have, they go 4 or 5 minutes. Wardlow takes bumps for the guy, almost gets his head caved in, and Brutus Beefcake Jr. in the parasailing accident. And then somehow in the process of finally beating him, tweaks his own knee. And he looked worse by winning this match than he did if he hadn't had it to begin with. And then the heels jump in and start kicking the shit out of Commander. Does this sound familiar? And music plays, and here comes Pockets and Trent and Muffin Top Taylor and Rocky Raccoon. What's his name?
Rocky Romero.
Romero.
Was Taylor out there too? I know I saw Rocky Romero.
Muffin Top came out, but only 3 of them got in the ring because Taven and Bennett and Roddy stayed in the ring. Wardlow, the one who could beat all 4 or 5 of these motherfuckers, he gets out to take care of Cole, so they didn't want to have 3 of the fucking Puddin' Gang, or 4 of the Puddin' Gang in the ring against 3 heels, so Muffin Top just disappeared. Either that or he fell in an open manhole on the way out. But it was, so then the Undisputed Kingdom, this big heel group led by the devil himself, baby, wearing a blue dress on, they got out of the ring and fucking gave up on the face-off with a group of fucking jobbers. What the and we were almost an hour into the program at that point. Help me.
There is no help. Well, Jim, before we get to the big 9 o'clock hour, or the main event, or whatever the hell's going on this show, I'm sure some of the fans, the tens of tens in the building, and the hundreds of thousands at home, may have wanted to put some money on who they thought would win the big match tonight, here on the big show at the UNO Lakefront.
No, actually, what they were looking for is they were looking for somebody they could pay to let them out early. Because I think that is AEW's next strategy. Let them all in free and charge them to get out. But if you'd like to bet on whether that happens or not, or literally anything else going on in the world of wrestling or the world of professional sports or things and such, whatever they take bets on, well, DraftKings Sportsbook, they can fix you right up. You know the Super Bowl is coming up. Brian, you've heard about this. It's been in the papers.
It's going to be a big deal this year, yeah.
Who's in it?
The Kansas City Chiefs, led by Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes, against the San Francisco 49ers in the Joe Montana Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you what, Taylor Swift, I believe, is going to kick the shit out of them people. And you can place a wager on it because DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the Super Bowl 58. They've done 58 Super Bowls now. Holy, that's even more than they've done WrestleManias. Well, but right now, if you know who's going to win or think you know who's going to win, or you just bet on both teams, that way you're guaranteed to win something.
Well, no, you're not allowed to make any suggestions of how the listeners should bet. We could talk about the fact that they can go there and pick and choose, but we can't.
If they want to bet on something, we're allowed to tell them. I'm not telling them how to bet. I'm suggesting that if you bet on both teams, that would almost guarantee that you'd win something, wouldn't it? Can they go to a draw in the Super Bowl? There's got to be a loophole somewhere here, folks, or somewhere, folks. But regardless, if you bet on the big game right now and you're a new customer to DraftKings, you bet $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's crazy. So right now, if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code JCE, and go to place a wager on the big Super Bowl, whether you want Taylor Swift to win or you want the Miners from 49er to win or whoever you want to win, or like I said, bet on both and you're going to win something. Well, then you can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Use the code JCE and make the crown yours. Does Taylor Swift wear a crown?
No, but she's the reigning queen of pop.
Well, Michael Jackson will have something to say about that.
Well, he's not alive. He can't be the queen of pop anymore.
Well, in that case, he'll say something about it in the afterlife.
He can be the queen of soda.
He can be the queen of shampoo. You know, if they'd have come up with a good anti-inflammatory shampoo for people with head fucking trauma from severe burns, Michael Jackson would have been the perfect spokesperson. But nevertheless, now going back to this, download the DraftKings Sportsbook
let's go back
app
to this. Yeah, good idea.
now. Do it now and use the code JCE. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Bet on the big game, the Super Bowl, and whoever you want to win. And just put the fix in with the gangsters that you know in your neighborhood, and everything will turn out fine. And just in case you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. A lot of people need it up there for problem gambling. Call 888-789. Now, that makes it sound like if you want problem gambling, call. If you need help for problem gambling, call 888-789-7777. Sounds like a slot machine. Or visit ccpg.org. I thought that was the former Soviet Union. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, we thank you. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. How many days is that? I don't fucking know. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. I thought that was a fashion website, DKNG. Make women's purses and apparel.
No, that's DK and Y.
Oh, why not G?
I don't know.
No, that's it. Why not G?
All right, G. Well, let's, we're talking about DraftKings once again. How can the listeners get their Jim Cornette assisted help from DraftKings?
Cornette assisted help by using the code JCE is what they need to do.
That's right. That's right. With DraftKings, our friends, the official betting partner of the Jim Cornette experience, and even over here on the Drive Thru. Before we get back to Dynamite, Jim, some breaking news.
Oh boy.
Happy to say that as we've been talking about, as we As we are approaching 400,000 subscribers on YouTube, Jim, we have just passed 500 million views.
Holy jumping shitballs. 500 million views. Oh, I get, well, it's audio, so listens. On
Travis's
YouTube.
artwork views.
Well, and then viewing the artwork there. Yes. And you know, actually, we do leech a lot of listeners off people just wanting to stare at his fine artwork. 500. Thank you very much, everybody who has subscribed or participated in the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. How does that rank amongst the greats and the near greats in the YouTube business? Are we doing pretty good?
We're doing pretty good. I don't know how that ranks amongst others. But you know,
at least in the wrestling sphere, I would imagine we're up there.
We're the greatest of all time. Yeah.
We can't compare with the people that run fucking trains off goddamn trestles and shit.
We could, but we would need a bigger budget.
Well, we'd need a bigger train and a bigger trestle.
Well, stay tuned. There's only more money and more trains and more trestles to come, but let's get back to the train that's stuck on the tracks, known as Dynamite.
Train, take me on out of this. That's Blackfoot. There was more train on the trained animals were up next. Tony Schiavone did a sit-down with Darby and Sting and Starks and Bill with the rule that there was going to be no physicality whatsoever so they could talk about their tag team match next week that has been made specifically so that apparently Starks and Bill can lose the belts to Darby and Sting so that they can have a tag team title match on the pay-per-view against Maddie and Nikki. So we wonder what'll happen. They're trying to promote this match. There is no logical story being told here about this match or why this rivalry is going on. And Starks and Darby were just screaming at each other. And this is Sting's retirement, and he gets the least focus of anybody. And Big Bill, in this particular instance, was the best spoken person in the promo. And there's no reason for them to be mad. It doesn't make sense why that the Jackson boys are trying to get rid of the cancer in the locker room that is the previous generation, except in their own words for Sting, who's great, the model employee, but it's what he stands for, meaning it's all the other people we already ran off and can't draw any money with now. What the fuck is going on? Unskinny Bop.
Really?
Yes. What the hell is going on?
I didn't think you were into Poison. I was a little surprised by the quote there.
Well, it naturally flowed. What is going on with this? None of this makes any sense, and they're trying to sell matches based on they don't even understand why they've been made. Is that the impression you're getting?
Yeah, nothing on this show is coherent or makes any sense or is put together well or is explained well. The commentators are terrible. The way things are laid out is terrible. The booking that goes behind things is terrible. The layout of the show doesn't work. And they're driving people away. So they're getting everything. They're doing everything they wanted. They're just not getting the results they wanted because they're doing all the things they wanted. But no, this promo, it was awkward. It was weird. There's like a dynamic you don't understand that's not really explained. It's hard to see Ricky Starks and not just say there's a guy that wishes he was not there.
Yeah.
Because he knows. He knows he's being wasted there. Big Bill, too. Big Bill finally shows personality. Finally shows he could really talk. Or he could talk. I don't know about really talk. But he could talk. And, you know, they're probably both miserable there, wanting to go to WWE like everyone else who cares about their craft.
Well, speaking of caring about their craft, the 9 o'clock hour came, and here came Chris Jericho. And we have not seen him in front of, he's been on his cruise. We haven't seen him in front of a live crowd since the pay-per-view debacle about a month ago.
He's been thanking Vince all week.
And exactly, Vince McMahon, two things. The crowd in this building was so small, it's the people that really want to like everybody in AEW, and Vince McMahon has taken the heat off of everybody. Charles Manson doesn't look like such a bad guy after all to anybody after the events of this last week. So Jericho was fine. And he had a long match with old Kyle Felcher. And finally beat him with a Judas elbow off the top rope, 1, 2, 3.
Did you see the superplex spot?
No, I just had to. There had been an hour of this show, and there was an hour left to go, and I knew what was going to happen, and I didn't care, and I fast forwarded through it. What happened?
Well, because Jericho looks so bad, and he's kind of getting out of shape again. Kyle Fletcher was going to superplex him off the top rope, and after he got him up, how do I even explain it? Jericho, I guess, lost his balance or thought he wasn't safe, whatever it was. So he turned, and I came down. Like, he just came down like head first near the rope, and then Kyle Fletcher came down really awkwardly.
Oh, Jesus.
It was worth seeing. It was the highlight of the match.
Well, I wish I hadn't deleted the show already, but I couldn't wait.
And Jericho did get booed a bit. Even with this small crowd and being mostly enthusiast for AEW, he was getting booed too.
Well, I heard that I listened to when they cut the music down, and there wasn't anything drastic, and then I saw Felcher coming out. I said, I just can't. So that was what that was.
With Don Callis, who, give me a break. Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita would both be better off if they weren't tied in with this shit.
Well, therein lies, the problem is Hobbs is just an afterthought again, and we never came out and made mean faces on the ramp afterwards, but
so he could work with Jericho next week.
Yeah, so he
not against someone young and good, but against someone who just does not have it anymore.
Well, speaking of not having it anymore, do you remember when the Acclaimed were massively popular?
They were super over. They were chosen by the fans. They weren't someone pushed and the fans just went along with it. The fans decided to turn them and cheer for them.
Well, and we've talked many times that Tony didn't follow up and couldn't figure out how to follow up, and they put a lot of attention on Billy, and that was fine too. Billy was over for a while, but now they've figured out a way to make nobody over because they've come up with the super group of the Gang Bang Scissor Gang, which is Jay White, who ain't over, the Gun Boys, who were more over before they got with Jay White, the fucking Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, who it's 3 heels, 3 baby faces. There's no explanation from Jay White and the Guns on why they've gone from, again, being a top heel group with their leader challenging for the world title to now just coming out doing random in-ring promos with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, where they bring out cardboard cutouts of Jay White, throw it out, then bring juices in. Tony Schiavone at the desk says, AEW is fun, isn't it? And then they did their catchphrases, they scissored the finger bangers, and they played music and left. And it didn't, there's no sense to why this happened. What the fuck was this about? They didn't talk about any opponents, any match, they just came out, did their fucking catchphrases, stuck their fingers in the middle of the ring to each other, and then carried their fucking cardboard stand-ups on off into the distance. You want to see a bunch of these guys now, Brian?
I don't want to see any of them. I was sick of the Acclaim before. The biggest thing I liked about Bullet Club Gold was Juice Robinson, and he's gone.
He's gone.
And this is now like a couple weeks in a row. We talk about trends in production, different things you've seen in Raw and SmackDown since Kevin Dunn left. Here, this is another weird promo segment for the live room that's booked where, like, nothing is really said. Like, it goes nowhere. Remember Sting and Darby last week?
Yes.
Where Sting announced that he's all in for continuing as a tag team until his retirement. I don't even know what he was saying. Here's another one. It's like, go out there, you got promo time. But what did they say? Like, where did this lead? Where did this go? What happens next? And why would anyone care? The best thing they could do is get Juice back and separate him from all this.
Yes.
But they won't.
Hopefully he'll come back with amnesia and forget he was part of this group.
Hopefully he'll come back with a WWE contract.
Well, where all that led to, I can tell you exactly where it led to. It led to the next match, Deonna Purrazzo against Taya Valkyrie, with Toni Storm on color in black and white. Every time they go to a shot of the desk where she's doing color, it's in black and white. I guess the announcers have been transported back to the days of the old studio system. But Taya Valkyrie looks great, and she's new to this program. And Johnny, whatever, John Hennigan, is a name and can work, so they pop up infrequently every once in a while as jobbers. And that's what happened here. Deonna won. Your thoughts?
Unfortunately, no indictment of Deonna Purrazzo, who I've not seen much of. I've not been a big fan of Taya Valkyrie so far in AEW. I hate the Toni Storm stuff. It has go-away heat with me now, so I did not watch the segment.
Well, so moving on to the next segment, because you know these highly paid executive vice presidents have to make a difference in the business and the bottom line, whether it's ratings or tickets or pay-per-views or whatever. So we had Renee Moxley Good in the back with Darby Allin to ask him about his admiration for the Young Bucks. And he says, what? And suddenly, here comes Maddie and Nikki in from the side off camera, and they then act like douchebags to him. And obviously, they've told Renee to ask that question. They're making 7 figures a year apiece to do bad pre-tapes? What the fuck? So that was that. Your thoughts?
I mean, they got what they always wanted. It was always all about them. For anyone who didn't catch on early on, that's what it was always about. What's best for them. And yeah, they're making more money than any other tag team in history. No one cares about them. They're not over. They don't make a difference in the ratings. No one's going to pay to see them right now. They don't move as much merch as they used to. And their segments get worse and worse. And because they're not as over as they used to be, the bad stuff gets recognized more as bad every single day. And this stuff's terrible. And again, another nonsensical segment. If you wanted to have a confrontation with Darby and the Bucks, why do it like this?
Not only does nobody believe any of this stuff, but it's not even interesting if you're just assuming it's all a work and I just want to see what the story is. There's a story in there somewhere, but nobody gives a shit about it. But something they were supposed to give a shit about was the main event of the television show, which was Swerve Strickland. Okay, earlier, the Pick Your Poison, Swerve had picked the big Samoan Tia Leone to beat up Hangnail Page, maybe so he couldn't fight Samoa Joe for the world title. And the Samoan did kind of kick the shit out of Page, so even though nobody really knows who he is or gives a shit, it kind of fit, maybe, even though nobody wants to see Page wrestle Joe, because the only money match they've got for the world title is Swerve versus Joe, because even though Swerve and Joe are both heels, they're the two most popular people in the company, except for Sting, who's about to retire. So, but in this match, Hangnail Page picked for Swerve's opponent, that noted crippler of human beings, Rob Van Dam. It was like they were drawing names out of a hat to determine. I'm not saying anything bad about Rob Van Dam, but he doesn't, because now they like him. So the fans like Swerve. They want to see Swerve against Joe. But the fans like Rob Van Dam, so they want to cheer RVD.
Yeah, see, that's the issue right there. The fan dynamic, because Swerve's a babyface despite whatever they say, and Rob Van Dam's going to be a returning babyface.
So, how does it... And then Page comes on the screen and says he not only picked his opponent, but also the rules of the match. It's a hardcore match. As opposed to the first match of the night where they relaxed the rules because it was a dream match and all the other goddamn matches.
Relax. So, we're going to relax the rules for this match.
Yeah. They're fucking more relaxed and yeah. So the unpopular babyface picks a babyface legend to fight the popular heel in a garbage indie match. And they did the whole match on the floor. With chairs and tables and the same shit as always. And then finally, Rob Van Dam's on the top rope, and Brian Cage comes out and pushes him off. And Hook comes out with a chair and wears Brian Cage out with it, all in front of the referee because it's no DQ, lazy booking. And then they fought off while Rob Van Dam was watching all this. And then Swerve spins him around to do something, and they start their match over again. That wasn't even the finish. They just start having a match again at a glacial pace. And they go back to the floor and get confused as to what they were trying to do. And Swerve keeps trying to maneuver RVD into a chair that he's set at ringside so that he could do the double stomp off on him. But RVD went the wrong way, had to put him back over. And then my DVR froze because it was 10 o'clock. What the fuck was going on here for the rest of it? Did you see it?
They finally did the stomp to him, and it looked pretty rough. You kind of thought Rob Van Dam may have been rocked for a second, but it was a weird match because the fans were happy to see both guys. And both guys kicking the crap out of each other. You know, it was all right. I mean, I can't say Rob Van Dam wrestled exactly how I thought he would. It's Rob Van Dam. It was just, yeah. I don't know what they're doing I really don't know what they're doing over there.
Here's another thing. I assume these tickets have been on sale for more than a month. So the people, what few of them did that bought tickets, they would have expected to see MJF, not there. They would expect Edge, not there. Christian Cage, not there. Sting didn't come out in front of the people. Neither did Darby or the Buckaroos. And some of them are even in the building sometimes, but the people don't get to see them. What are they putting them out there on fucking Rampage? Danielson, what happened to him? So this is half a crew, even whether it be injury or whether it just be people that just don't go out in front of the people because the show is written in a crummy fashion. The people that are in the buildings are not getting to see half these big fucking stars or do anything meaningful if they walk out and wave. How the fuck?
You know, you bring up the crowds. I don't know if you noticed during the show, they announced the dates, the 6th and the 7th of March, Duluth, Georgia, for back-to-back nights, Dynamite and Rampage on one night, and I guess Collision on the next night, or whatever they're doing. We're a little over a month. Is that how long you want to have your tickets on sale for an event like this? Does it matter?
The modern live event business, almost all of the tickets are sold in advance, especially in the WWE. We've gone over this, and it was that way with AEW. Now, AEW is doing a little bit better late ticket sale because they're sending people to do live publicity in the actual town on live news and broadcast television. Imagine that revolutionary idea. But because their ticket sales have dropped so far, this is still, they're getting record lows with sending guys in and doing local publicity and getting a few hundred or several hundred tickets sold the day of. Traditionally, and over the last, several years especially, it's primarily in advance. Is anybody buying tickets in advance for AEW now? Because they don't know who they're going to see if they buy the tickets or who's going to be healthy by then.
Well, the other thing is they had a while where they were getting great walk-ups. And remember, we were also hearing stories about all these offers, 2 for 1, 3 for 1, whatever it was. I think there was a 3 for 1, right, at one point? So
I think it was, was it buy 2, get 2? I don't know. Group sales, group discounts.
We're not hearing as much about that stuff nowadays. And the crowds are going down and the walk-ups are going down. So whatever that means, whatever the correlation there is there, they're doing a lot of things differently apparently now with the live event stuff than they were under Raphael Morphy. And even that was, a lot of people will tell you, lacking in what they were doing and what they weren't doing.
Well, you don't need to put tickets on sale 6 months out, but especially with this dedicated audience and tuned into the internet and a big on sale or whatever, 6 or 8 weeks in a lot of these places, it would not be ridiculous, but You know, I guess it doesn't matter. You're not selling many tickets. You can sell them quicker.
Yeah, what I have here is they announced Wednesday and Thursday, the 6th and the 7th of March. You could buy both shows individually, or there's a 2-day package. So the question will be how many people are going to go 2 nights in a row to this?
And 2 weeknights.
And again, it's not like the day after a pay-per-view or something.
Well, and that's the thing also is the Thursday night is not even going to be live television, and you know it's going to be Collision and Rampage, and my God, the interest level on those, I don't want to preface another one of our topics, but the interest level on those has never been less.
Well, we'll see what happens, and that was AEW Dynamite for February. No, today's February.
No,
January 31st.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Yes, you are correct, sir. January 31st. The last day of the month.
Well, Jim, we don't have ratings yet. If we get them while we're doing the show, we'll jump in with them. But we do have rankings. AEW has brought back their rankings. Tony Khan announced this. They made a big deal out of it. What are your thoughts before we get to the new rankings? About having this, the NWA, WCW always had, not always, but sometimes had a top 10 on TV. Sometimes used it in the booking of the weekly shows. Popular feature in the London publishing magazines. What do you think of having rankings?
Well, in the London publishing the After Mags, as they were so noted, you know, the editorial staff made those up. And I think everybody knows that at this point. Some promotions did do top 10s, and there's nothing the matter with a top 10, especially if it's a promotion like the NWA where the traveling champion was going to different territories and you would have top 10s of guys in different territories. Nothing the matter with that. The ranking system that AEW has been doing or did for a while and then quit and brought it back or whatever, there's a reason why it's never worked when you give everybody's win-loss record, because you get painted into corners where you have to reveal shit that makes a guy that you're pushing now look bad because of his record from last year when you weren't pushing him or whatever the fuck, right? Or it highlights ridiculous shit like when you don't know what you're doing and you make the company mascot 28-1, then it's totally meaningless if anybody has a great record. You want to highlight the one-loss record of the top guys that you have that are going for the championship, and that's part of their bone of contention, their argument for having the title shot or being in the number one contender spot or whatever. And the rankings help that as long as, again, it makes sense on the surface of it to the people who are watching the television show, and you don't put the comedy fucking figure in as number 3 contender just because you think he's cute or he tickles you or whatever. So do they have 10 top contenders for the heavyweight title in AEW that would legitimately be in people's list of, I could see that guy as the world champion? I don't think they do. If they go for a top 5, maybe that might be more realistic. But then I don't believe that Tony will not fuck that up by putting in some of his goofy Japanese fossilized favorites or something to make it look ridiculous. But do you have the top 10 there?
Well, there is no top 10. We have AEW rankings, and the rankings are for the singles division, the women's division, the tag team division, and the trios division.
Oh, good Lord.
So the trios champions are the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, as it says here. The number 1 contenders, Bullet Club Gold. Number 2.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. So the number 1 contenders to the 6-man tag team title are the partners and cohorts in the new super group of the Scissor Bang Gang Clang Bang. The Bullet Club Gold, which is a subgroup of the big group that they formed with the champions.
This may be a precursor of banging and clanging to come. We'll see. Number 2, the number 2 contender for the Trios Championship, the Hardy. Excuse me.
What? The Hardy?
The Hardys and Mark Briscoe.
What?
The Hardys and Mark Briscoe.
Have we seen them have a match?
I believe
together as partners?
It may be on one of the other shows that we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, the Dark Order.
Good. Are they still there?
They are still there. Number 4, FTR and Daniel Garcia.
Oh, good Lord.
Speaking
like
of...
that they would even be a regular tag team, or that they should even be together to begin with.
And the number 5 contender for the Trios Championship, the House of Black.
Okay, actually, out of that, the House of Black is the only one that makes any sense.
Well, let's see how much sense this makes to you. The tag team division, the champions, Ricky Starks and Big Bill. The number 1 contenders, Sting and Darby Allin.
Well, I guess, hold on, I guess that makes some level of sense since that's where they're going. But, all right, go ahead.
The number 2 contenders to the Tag Team Championship, John Silver and Alex Reynolds.
Oh, what? See, that's what FTR. Anybody? Silver and Reynolds, the number 2 contender. Not even the Buckaroos, for fuck's sake.
Well, let's go to number 3, the number 3 contenders for the tag team title, as ranked by AEW, Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli.
Oh, good Lord. All right.
We've gotten 2 oh good Lord so far, ladies and gentlemen. The number 4 contenders for the tag team titles, Private Party. Private Party.
Okay.
And number 5, finally, Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta.
Okay, so FTR are not in the top 5 of Challengers, former champions, best team in the business, but
at least they're number 4 for the Trios title.
Silver and Reynolds, Private Party and Pockets and Trent are, and Danielson and Claudio, who have they ever had a tag team title match?
A tag team title match? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think we did see them in a tag team match.
Because they're in the group, every once in a while they have a tag team match, but have they ever actually went for the tag titles, or were they just booked together in a tag match because they were members of the same stupid group that the Plumbers started?
That may be it.
Okie dokie. Well, that makes perfect sense. Now we're seeing why rankings really do make a difference.
Well, let's go to the women's division. The women's champion is Timeless Toni Storm. The photo is in black and white with red lipstick. And the TBS champion is Julia Hart. The number 1 contender, or number 1 ranked person, I guess, yeah, they are contenders.
Yes.
I guess they're ranked for either championship. Number 1 contender, Deonna Purrazzo. Number 2, Thunder Rosa. Number 3, Hikaru Shida. Number 4, Sky Blue. And finally, at number 5, the number 5 contender for a women's championship, whichever one, Mariah May. Mariah May.
Okay, so remember they signed Ruby Soso? She's going to change the game. Remember they signed Paige? My God, what? They're not even in there. Well, I don't know what happened to Nyla Rose. Thankfully, hopefully, somebody's revoked Riho's green card or passport or whatever she's using to get in here. They brought Deonna Purrazzo in last month. That's fine. Thunder Rosa hasn't been on TV till just last week in a fucking year or whatever. Shida, I didn't know she was still around. Sky Blue has done a variety of jobs, and Mariah May, she's only had 1 match. Where are all the stars that were supposed to be in this division? Where's Britt Baker? Didn't they used to have some fucking stars in the women's division?
And you think about the things they didn't do. They never took advantage of the Britt Baker-Jamie Hayter dynamic and had the breakup and the big match.
Statlander!
Oh yeah, where's Statlander?
They've never done anything with any of this.
All right, well, let's go to the men's champions.
Oh, boy.
The men's champions are the AEW champion Samoa Joe, the TBS champion Christian Cage, Looks like he should be hosting a science show on PBS here. The International Champion Orange Cassidy and the Continental Crown Champion Eddie Kingston.
Oh, good Lord. So, again, this is not even a proper ranking system because the ranking is supposed to be all about the AEW World Champion. And is the TNT champion Christian Cage, is that like the U.S. champion or the North American champion where he's next in line? Certainly you can't compare the belt that the company mascot was given by the boss to the same level as the TNT title or the world title. And poor Eddie Kingston won that bogus tournament for a bunch of job belts. So they automatically are ahead of the number one contender to the world title. How does this work?
Well, let's talk about who's vying for those championships. One or all, or who knows. But number one contender, Swerve Strickland.
Okay, that makes a little sense.
Number two, Hangman Adam Page.
Has less sense. He's an empty-headed dipshit, but at least with television presentation, I guess he belongs on the list.
Number three, Adam Copeland.
Edge, big star. Okay.
Number four, Jon Moxley.
Oh, good Lord. Believes he's a star in his own mind and has convinced the billionaire mark of same.
And finally, at number five, the number five contender for a title, Roderick Strong.
Well, poor Roddy. We won't hold it against him. Now, but here's the problem. Does anybody want to make an argument and tell me somehow that Swerve Strickland, Hangnail Page, Edge, and Plumber Moxley are not bigger stars than Pockets and Eddie Kingston? Yet Pockets and Eddie Kingston have belts and they don't. So it's these people, Roddy fine, but Swerve, Page, Copeland, and Moxley shouldn't be on a list of anything but challengers or contenders for the AEW World title or maybe the TNT title, Christian Cage. If you have any of the four of those guys wrestle Pockets or Kingston for these fucking job titles, it just brings them down. It would be stupid. They wouldn't want to challenge for something that they're already more important than without holding it. Would they?
Why? Why fuck up their schedule?
Yeah, they might have to come to work.
Well, those are the first round of the new AEW rankings. We don't know how much longer we'll be talking about this on the show, but Jim, Tony Khan issues something like this. He's thinking that there's going to be some excited fans running to their phones to get in touch with people, talk about this, text people, tweet at people, whatever it may be. And kind of against the ethos of Tony Khan, we know a way people can use their phones and save money. Save money.
Save
Not just
money.
blow money. Save money.
No, it's all too easy to spend money on these big-time phone plans these days, but it's harder to save money. And we've got the secret right now because all you have to do is remember the words Mint Mobile. Because Mint Mobile has wireless plans starting at $15 a month. And if you want a plan with wires in it, that's only $30 a month. But that's unlimited talk and text plus data for $15 a month. So you can talk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can text as much as your little thumbs will write, and you can get data. I don't know what kind of data you want. Maybe you want the secret plans for the invasion of a foreign country from NORAD.
No, first of all, that's illegal to get that unless you have authorization, but that's not the kind of data they're talking about. Text messages and photographs and information that's on
information, yes, information. Sometimes information that can be used to drive the market up for the highest bidder from a foreign country. You never know.
No, just legal, nice things that we want to talk about.
Nice things. Well, for anybody that hates their phone bill.
No espionage.
You can't, Mint Mobile is not in favor of espionage. You got to get another plan for that. But if you hate your phone bill, then Mint Mobile offers the premium wireless for $15 a month. And you can choose from 3, 6, or 12-month plans and say goodbye to your monthly phone bill. Well, you won't really say goodbye to it. You'll say so long for now, because in 3, 6, or 12 months, it'll come back. However, Mint Mobile will give you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family. Because at Mint Mobile, families start at 2 lines. Most families start with 2 individuals, and then they become one in an active sexual congress, and then they sprout families all over the place. And you can get a line for every single one, although why you'd get a line for a baby, I have no fucking idea. You mean to tell me now that these babies get cell phones?
No one means to tell you that. No one has told you that or even alluded to that. We're talking about the family that are responsible enough to have a cell phone.
Do you have to get a phone for everybody in your family with the family plan at Mint Mobile?
You don't have to. I mean, you have the option.
How do you decide? Well, little Farquhar might feel left out if little Janie gets hers and he doesn't get his.
How old are they?
Well, does it matter?
It matters.
Well, let's say one is 9 and one is 10.
Oh, see, that made it hard. They're both kind of at the age where all their friends are getting phones. Now they're going to want phones.
Well, you better be glad that the family plans are cheap at Mint Mobile, too. And you can switch to Mint Mobile and get your first 3 months of premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. And you can use your own phone. Keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. A lot of times when you change your phone plan, the new big wireless carrier insists that you not speak to anybody that you've known before and start all new contacts. And you go out and you have to make new friends. You have to have a whole new circle of acquaintances. And there's penalties if you speak to any of your old friends. Well, not with Mint Mobile. You can talk to whoever you want to on this plan. As long as they'll talk to you, you may get some pushback there. Some people may not want to talk to your ass. Mint Mobile does not take any responsibility for that. If you pissed a motherfucker off bad enough that they won't answer your calls, Mint Mobile can't help you. But they can save you money.
Yes.
Yes. So get your new wireless plan for $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free. See, you made mockery of me when I talked about shipping websites before. Well, the same thing ought to apply for shipping a goddamn wireless plan. How do you ship a wireless plan? But it's going to come to your door for free if you just get mixed up with these people at Mint Mobile. So
not mixed up with. No, let's not phrase it like that. Let's not look at it like that.
Intermingled.
You start having a pleasant business relationship for a utilitarian need.
Yes, if you get painted with the same brush as the people over at Mint Mobile, just right now, go to mintmobile.com/JCE. That's mintmobile.com/JCE, and you can cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. And like I said, if you're a smartass and you want the wires to come along with it, that'll be a little bit more. But mintmobile.com/JCE. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply.
All right, Dr. Creepy. I don't know what that was there at the end. What is that?
That's my announcer voice.
Christopher Lee voice? What was that?
Yes. That was my announcer voice. These things may happen.
But
hopefully not.
Well, let's talk about other things that are happening here.
Uh-oh. Fractured Fairy Tales is back.
I did it ends with someone getting shot. What the fuck is that about?
It may end up that way again if you're not careful.
It's all fun and games until you get shot. Jim, breaking news as we are recording.
Oh, not again. That gets us into trouble.
Fightful Select is reporting that Mercedes Mone is expected to appear for AEW in March. A lot of people have been talking about her for a while. She's been injured. There was word that she was talking with WWE when Triple H took over after Vince. The other word was maybe she wanted a little more money than they thought they wanted to spend. But here's the news. Do you think it's something that will help AEW?
Well, see, if I say no, then it's like I'm saying, Mercedes Mone ain't worth shit. And that's not the case. I don't think the reincarnated corpse of Mildred Burke could make a difference in AEW's business, it's not the talent's fault anymore. It's Tony, it's the booking, it's the creative, it's now the downward spiral of the entire company, the big buildings that aren't filled up and the fucking TV that people aren't watching and the general malaise that's set onto all of this. So I believe that Tony will give her more money than the WWE would because they don't need her as badly. Tony doesn't recognize that all of the problems that he's caused and, as brought into being are going to prevent her from making any fucking difference, just like nobody else had. We just mentioned Paige, Ruby, don't take your love to town, this one and that one and the other one, Edge. They brought in Edge, the ratings went down. It doesn't matter about the talent. So, yes, I can believe he's paying her more money for less fucking work and less control over anything that she may want to do otherwise. And so that's probably the best thing for her to do. As far as continued long-term being one of the biggest stars in the wrestling business, for her, that day is over. Because now the longer she's out of the WWE and, the more she's in this, you can't deny that more people thought that Paige was a big deal before Paige came back and showed she wasn't a big deal on this program. So that's what's going to happen here. Mercedes Moné is going to come in, and however long it's going to take, she's not going to be a big deal. And, that'll be the end of that. I'm sorry, am I too doom and gloom here? Or am I just being realistic?
No matter what you think, she's a star. She's over. When she's not on TV, people were demanding her. She kept herself out there in the public eye, even with a new name, wrestled for Stardom, got hurt, or wrestled for New Japan, I forget, or whatever the difference may be. If she wants all this money and just wants to do her thing and be a star, AEW is the place. If you want to make money, be in a more structured environment that may not feel as chaotic, which is crazy considering the last week, but all things considered.
Yeah. And stay a big star for years to come rather than be trading off you were a big star and now you're here.
It's a new era. There's no Vince. And I don't know anything about her negotiations with WWE, so I'm just throwing something out there. But looking at what they did for Vince on the way out, looking for what happened to The Rock, looking at what kind of deal someone like Brock Lesnar has or other people, if you were her, negotiating with them to come back under the idea that they wanted you back, they recognize you're a star, they want all the star power they can get, do you demand the rights to ownership of your name? Because that's the reason she became Mercedes Moné. I mean, her real name is Mercedes, but everyone knew her as Sasha Banks until they didn't.
I don't think she's important enough to them. That maybe that was one of the sticking points. I think at this point, they don't want to set a precedent, I would not imagine. Yes, you can give The Rock the rights to his name, along with $30 million to be on the board of directors. She's not going to be on the board of directors. She's not a Rock level celebrity in any field. Do they want to set the precedent that for the rank and file talent, just because they've gotten over in the past, even though they're doing business just fine without them, do they, we'll give you your name too? Do they want to set that precedent and make all these other people, every time their deal is up, start grumbling about that as a sticking point? I don't think she's worth it. Don't start that. That's one thing that Vince McMahon was cognizant of, is he didn't want to give a lot of people in his locker room a chance to grumble because he did something for somebody that he didn't do for, I'm talking legally. Everybody's going to grumble about their push or the level they're put at on the pay-per-view card or whatever. But I'm talking about the contracts and legally and upsetting. That's why he didn't want to do the invasion angle. He didn't want to upset his salary structure. So I don't see she's worth that. Do you?
It's hard to say, because again, she's someone who got to do things outside of wrestling. She was on one of the Star Wars themed shows on Disney Plus, which is a pretty big deal. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I have different thoughts about women's wrestling and where it is today than other people do. Mine's reality-based as opposed to Fantasyland-based. I don't know. But again, if she wants to just jet set around and be a star, make lots of money, and not have to do anything she doesn't want to do, AEW may be the place. Especially if she has friends there. I mean, that's the one thing with WWE. People like Bayley, she has friends there. She may not have that, or I shouldn't say that, but it'll be a different world and a different environment than everything she's used to.
And meanwhile, Naomi just came back. Because she walked out with old Sasha.
She was so radiant, she was glowing.
Yes, she was positively fucking translucent or phosphorescent or whatever the phrase would be. Tumescent, I don't know, but so that it was solidarity at the start, and then Naomi, I think, saw, well, fuck, you might get a heck of a deal from the billionaire rich kid, but mine might not be so good, and I'm not as big of a star as I want to be yet. So she went back to try to get bigger.
Well, Jim, speaking of people that always try to get bigger, or just so happen to get bigger, footage has emerged, apparently some of it was even posted by the actual party himself, of Chris Jericho on his latest cruise.
Oh.
Because when things get bad, it's always a good idea to hit the sea. On his latest cruise, Chris Jericho, allegedly in tribute to David Bowie, got dressed up and painted up as his version of Aladdin Sane.
Was that what it was supposed to be?
I'm pretty sure that's what it was supposed to be. And then he went out there and sang cover songs of other bands. Footage and photography and audio has emerged. Any thoughts? Have you seen anything? And are you okay?
Well, that's the thing is, without context, I saw the clip that was going around on Twitter of Chris Jericho on his cruise attempting to sing a song. I'm not sure what the song was. I didn't recognize it as a David Bowie hit, but I didn't recognize him as David Bowie because I was assuming either for some sponsorship reason or somebody lost a game show they had on the cruise or whatever, he was dressed as Ronald McDonald. Tell me that I've never seen David Bowie look anything like this, but I have seen Ronald McDonald look remarkably close. He was wearing red fluffy hair and the red and yellow pants and frilliness. And how was that not Ronald McDonald? You're the music industry expert. How was that?
Well, this seems
Bowie?
This seems more fashion based, but no, that did look like Ronald McDonald. The other thing is this: when David Bowie was dressing like that, and for the majority of his career, he was really fucking skinny. He was really at that time he was really coked up. So what was he? 5'8", 5'9", 110 pounds, something like that. Here's Jericho. No disrespect to Jericho. I don't think any of us could pull off that look. You have to be skinny as could be.
Well, no, Ronald McDonald wasn't even skinny.
I'm not talking Ronald. I'm talking Ziggy Stardust.
No, that wasn't this. He's standing there looking like Ronald fucking McDonald, and he's talking or singing a song that somebody tweeted, said, just forcing air through your throat is not singing.
I saw someone tweet, I am a singer. That is the wrong key.
Well, I don't care if he's got a brand new pair of roller skates and a brand new key.
Oh, she just died. She just died last week.
Melanie?
Yeah, she just died last week.
Quirky little thing. But nevertheless, maybe the wrong artist passed on there because it sounded like Jericho was in the death throes of a bull moose. But I don't know what the song was he was singing, and I couldn't get any hints from the lyrics because I couldn't understand them. Because besides the fact that his floppy clown nose was buffering in the wind, he was going like this again, like he did the other thing when he was trying to take the piss out of Sebastian Bach, showing him he could scream sing into a mirror. What the fuck is... Remember when he had, let me tell you like I'm doing this right
Sebastian Bach said, "You can't sing, you need a backing track." And Chris Jericho said, "I'll show you," and put out the saddest display of trying to sing you've ever seen.
It was like a hyena being anally protruded. But that's the same. So I don't know what was going on here, but I thought it was he raising money for charity and he was appearing ridiculous, all to raise money for the little babies or something. But he apparently was being serious about this in some fashion.
It must drive him crazy that no matter what he does, there's a growing audience that just laughs at him, that calls it out and laughs at him finally.
I don't know, but, you know, when he fucking fired the T-shirt cannon and out came Quarter Pounders, that was that was it for me.
By the way, I believe one of the songs he sang was Tainted Love.
Possibly not the right week for that.
I guess not. Hey, real quick, in the breaking news department, Jim, remember when Vince McMahon, whenever he has trouble, he wears a neck collar, he gets neck surgery?
Yes. I wonder how big the collar is going to be this time around.
Well, Bruce Pritchard was named by Ronda Rousey on Twitter a couple days ago. Bruce Pritchard has now undergone tricep surgery.
What?
So he's having surgery.
But how? Bruce is my age, I think. He might be a year younger, whatever. But the point of how the fuck did he tear his tricep?
He's probably doing dips.
No, how does a normal human being that's not an athlete tear their tricep? I've never even heard of such a thing happening. What was he doing, fucking monkey bars at the playground? What? And the last time I saw Bruce, he's in the Heyman Stakes. He was fucking massive. He had his own gravitational pull. Certainly he's not out there doing high quality aggressive parkour or the uneven parallel bars.
You think maybe this is a way to buddy up to CM Punk, try to save his job?
You know, birds of a feather flock together?
Yeah.
I don't know. It maybe vultures of a certain kind get left out in the fucking desert to rot. That may be another is that an old saying, or did I just coin it?
Can you fire a man if he's recovering from tricep surgery? That's the question.
I bet you they'll find a way. No, but I mean, if Bruce has a serious malady here, then I'm certainly hope he's better quickly and that it's not his self-pleasuring hand. But otherwise, how the fuck did he tear his tricep? And he's not even been named anything yet, fingered, if you will. So he shouldn't have the surgery now if that's the case, if he's trying to get sympathy, because by the time that he gets hauled in front of anybody to answer for anything, he'll already be healed up.
And you're right. He's totally going to pull the shit you said. Like, you know, I looked the other way. I had nothing to do with any of this. Even if he sent me something, I didn't look. I didn't see anything. I guarantee
he had his hands over his ears. He was screaming, hooty hoot, hooty hoot, whenever anybody brought the subject up, and he was looking the other way with blinders on.
That's right. Well, that's the health update here this week. Let me write that here in the notes.
And meanwhile, I'd just like to remind everyone that for some reason, medical science can find nothing wrong with me. And I'm lighter now than I was in 1984 and haven't had but one cold in the past 4 years now.
It must be whatever's in that Sprite, or Sprite Zero, excuse me.
Well, I'm looking at the label right now. It's got the carbonated water, the citric acid, the potassium citrate, the natural flavors. See, it's all now. Potassium benzoate to protect the taste. Aspartame. It says in big capital letters, contains phenylalanine. And it's under the heading phenylketonururics. I don't like the way that they make it in bold print, contains phenylalanine. Can you Google phenylalanine? Is that poisonous?
I can't even pronounce it. Spell that, please.
I'm taking a big drink.
Don't drink it if you don't know if it's poisonous. What the hell are you doing?
Well, I don't know what it is. I'm taking a sip.
That means you don't drink it. I don't know what it is. Let me have another sip.
How many times have you been out to eat with somebody, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever meal, restaurant somewhere, maybe even just around the house, and they take a bite of something and they go, shit, I think this is spoiled. Taste this. Why would I want to taste it if you think it's spoiled? Phenylalanine, Phenylalanine. Phenylalanine. Oh, fiddle-de-fi.
Phenylalanine. Hold on. See, I messed up the timing. I was going to hit you with phenylalanine. Like the spelling bee. But, which your father, of course, invented.
Yes, he invented spelling.
It is, I think I put the wrong thing here. Phenylephrine.
No, there's no freen.
Yeah, so no, this one's a nasal decongestant.
Phenylalanine.
Yes.
Ylalanine.
Alanine. It is an amino acid, a building block of protein. Most people don't need to worry about it, but it is an issue for people who have a genetic condition called phenylketonuria.
Yes, phenylketonuria. This is a warning that it contains phenylalanine.
And genetic conditions are passed through families.
Well, God, fortunately, Mama Cornette was free of the phenylketonuria.
Why do they put it in drinks? This neurotransmitter enhances mental alertness and memory and improves mood.
See?
It also suppresses appetite, which is probably the reason for the mention of phenylamine on food labels, an indication that it may be used as a dietary aid.
See right here, Sprite Zero, keeping me sharp and alert and suppressing the appetite so that I don't overeat and gain weight and be all fat and things.
All right, well, thank you, Sprite Zero, for not sponsoring us in any way. But Jim, let's get another question here. This one, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Adam K. in Delaware. When the Heavenly Bodies came to the WWF in 1993, they were given Jim Neidhart's recycled theme, complete with the anvil clanking sound effect. What did you think of that decision, and did you ever suggest an alternative theme?
I had no idea that it had been Neidhart's. I hadn't paid a lick of fucking attention. I wasn't watching the programming regularly before we started there. And, it was the same deal. We're coming up visiting. We're making TV tapings and pay-per-views. And I didn't expect them to write a brand new piece of music just for the Heavenly Bodies, and we didn't pay attention to it because I was paying more attention trying to get the goddamn wings off their jackets after a while. But no, I mean, they recycled music up there all the time because they had the rights to it. And Vince had gotten too big to be able to play commercial music. We knew that. That's why in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, we were using Edgar Winter. And we were playing the shit out of every fucking song I ever liked because nobody noticed, nobody gave a shit. But when you went to the WWF, you had to use the shit they had written for whoever the fuck that they weren't using anymore. They couldn't write something new for 500 guys a year. So it didn't. And also, it wasn't like we went in to work with the Steiners for the tag team title, and that was fine. I'd rather be in the title picture on the pay-per-view, SummerSlam, than worry about my music. But then after that, when it was obvious that they weren't really going to run with the bodies, we're not going to fucking bitch about the music.
What makes good tag team entrance music?
Well, I don't know about tag team entrance music versus single or anything like that. I always loved putting commercial music that people knew, hits from artists they knew that created a certain mood with a guy whose gimmick and character and presentation or whatever fit that particular song or theme or mood that was being created. And, that's why that, the territories of Memphis started really the whole music revolution. It was here and there, but Memphis went crazy with it and it spread. But it really, it wound the people up. It got them excited. And we've talked about this before. There were certain guys like Jimmy Valiant when he did Son of a Gypsy. That was better than anything that he could have played to come out to. He did Boy from New York City and all that stuff. But no, Son of a Gypsy was perfect. But most guys couldn't do their own music. So they needed something. And, when the Fabulous Ones' original song was Billy Squier, Everybody Wants You. And it's the fucking, the lament of the rock star on the road and the life. And he's looking in the mirror and a blah, blah, blah. That fucking fit perfectly. I don't know about You Dropped a Bomb on Me. For a while there, they were just using whatever was number one that week. They would use that for the Fabs. But
that's a killer song. That's a good song.
Well, yeah, but not for the fucking Fabulous Ones. It just didn't seem, but I continued that in OVW, even though the generation of music was not one that I was expert in. Stace was there to give me a little update on some of the music so we could use shit that matched the guys' presentation and their attitude and the way they came out. And that's what I always looked for in any territory when they were using commercial music was, does this create the same fucking vibe you want to get off this guy? And in various different ways with completely different music and different people. You had some that were great and some that were blah. Since they've all been written custom for, the talent in the WWE, the Austin glass breaking is iconic. Kurt Angle's got over. You can hear The Rock coming a mile away now or Cena, but a lot of it to me is just generic blah, blah.
The Midnight Express have maybe the most or one of the most memorable theme songs of any tag team ever with Chase from the soundtrack to Midnight Express. When you put the Heavenly Bodies together, when did you decide on Frankenstein, which was their theme, which was perfect, and they used that in Smoky Mountain, obviously not in WWE?
Right. Well, because it was, again, the Heavenly Bodies were kind of the next generation Midnight Express, and I wanted an instrumental but I didn't want to do the same thing, but it was kind of, just taking off on that. The Midnight Express had an instrumental that, honestly, not a lot of people knew what the fuck it was unless they'd seen the movie. It wasn't a hit song. There was a disco single. With Frankenstein, that had been more of a hit than Chase was off the Midnight Express soundtrack. But that album at that time, They Only Come Out at Night, was from 1972. So it was 20 years old at that point, and a lot of people may have heard it, but they didn't know what the fuck it was. I didn't want, here they come playing their hit song. I wanted the mood, the vibe, the whatever of the music. So it was kind of like the Midnight Express, but different, just like the Heavenly Bodies were, kind of like the Midnight Express, but different.
Jim, it would be probably difficult to access some of the footage of the Heavenly Bodies with the original music, or the Midnight Express with their original music, because WWE changes things, edits things. And of course, now even fans all around the world have to wonder how they're going to get their WWE because of the deal with Netflix and what's the future of Peacock, WWE Network shutting down overseas. It's probably a good time to check out ExpressVPN.
Well, because you're going to have to hide. You're going to have to hide if you want to do the work that you're going to have to put in to get the classic wrestling content. Because they're not just going to give it to you if you're up front. You tell them who you are, because they're going to want to jack you around for all this extra money. You got to get a subscription to this and a license for that. Well, I'll tell you what, right now, they've even got an incognito mode. Did you hear about this on your websites or on your VPNs or your personal fucking... What is it? The personal IP address is what I'm searching for.
Is that what you're searching for? I've heard of incognito.
Yes, they've got an incognito mode. They tell you, well, you can be incognito when you do this mode, but it's not. It's only partially cognitoed because Google runs everything. They run the browsers and they run the incognito mode, so they still know what you're doing online. There's right now even a $5 billion class action lawsuit against Google in California where it's accused of secretly collecting user data. You know what? With $5 billion, you could buy the rights to Raw for 10 years. And Google says incognito does not mean invisible. So what the fuck good is it then? If you can't make your cogs unable to be seen by the average person, then it's no good, right? You're supposed to agree with me.
I don't know how much I can agree with you because I'm not exactly sure.
You've got to make sure that people can't see your cogs. God, that's why you're hiding them, because the cogs tell your whole story of what you're into.
Well, what we want to talk about is the cognitive ability of the audience to observe professional wrestling all around the world.
No. See, your online activity is getting tracked. And data brokers get to buy and sell your data. And those data brokers, they're just like stockbrokers. They're just out for $1. So they'll take all your data and they'll sell it. And then what do you got no data. You don't know shit. You can't even remember who you are. And they've got data harvesters that will use your IP to uniquely identify you and your location. It says that right here. Data harvesters. They're going to come over with a thrashing machine and a combine and some hose, and they're going to harvest everything and leave you sitting on an empty lot.
There's going to be no hose and no combine. It's a digital harvesting, a virtual harvesting of your real information.
Well, I don't know if you want to be digitally harvested any more than you want to be personally harvested.
That's not what I meant. Again, we're talking about ExpressVPN, which is a wonderful service that can help the listeners.
Well, yes, they're going to keep you from getting harvested and put into a bale of hay or threshed into alfalfa. Well, with ExpressVPN, your connection gets rerouted through an encrypted server and your IP address is masked. Just call your IP address Mr. California or Mr. Connecticut. He's going to be wearing a mask and nobody's going to know who it is underneath that mask. And every time you connect to ExpressVPN, you're going to get a random IP address shared by many other customers. So nobody's going to know what the fuck's going on in that group. And boy, I'll tell you what, the one guy whose random address they give out, he's fucked. He gets no peace and quiet every day and every night. They just send out one guy's random IP address. So don't be that guy.
No one's doing this. No one has to fear this happening again.
Well, the chances are minute because there's so many people involved in this and they're just sending the one address out. So just don't be that guy. You'll never sleep.
What you can be is that guy who can access the shows and the websites all around the world that you may not be able to access normally because of where you live. Get around that geolocation with ExpressVPN.
And don't have these big companies keeping track of what you're doing in the privacy of your own home at late wee hours of the morning on your computer, and they have it all written down and they can sell it to your wife and she'll pay for it because it's really coming out of your pocket, because after the divorce settlement, she's going to have all your fucking money. So it's better to get 3 months for free from ExpressVPN and really go incognito and nobody's going to know what the fuck you're up to. That's expressvpn.com/JCE. That's the code there, the /JCE. You can get 3 extra months for free. Your cogs will be hidden. Your neatos will be protected. And your wife won't be able to divorce you with any knowledge that she gains by calling the people at Google and asking them what you're looking at when you tell her that you're taking a nap in the office. expressvpn.com/JCE, 3 months for free. Imagine how much a divorce costs.
ExpressVPN, just focus on the positive. ExpressVPN.
Eliminate the negative and don't mess around with Mr. In-Between.
Well, Jim, speaking of eliminating the negative, I don't know if I would call this that, but a lot of listeners have wanted to get your thoughts on this. We haven't really paid much attention to AEW Collision or its numbers or its action in quite a while. You actually did see it a few weeks back with Battle of the Belts.
I did. I had to stand there stupefied and slack-jawed in wonder. But now this, you're talking about the Collision from this last Saturday where they were up against the most anticipated Royal Rumble in quite a while. And they posted a number that one wouldn't think that the TBS and TNT networks would really appreciate in prime time on any night of the week on their programming.
Well, again, we're going to talk about this because this number, and the number's 300,000 viewers.
Even. Did they round off?
Well, this is the lowest number in the key demo in the history of the show, including preemptions. And this is the lowest.
Wait a minute, it's a lower number than when the show wasn't on at all? How can that be?
I guess when the show was moved to another...
moved to a different time slot. The ratings were worse.
It is phrased pretty funny when you think about it.
Wasn't on at all.
This is also the lowest overall number for a non-preemption episode. And the episode that was Friday, November 7th was lower, but that was 270,000, but that was a Friday. Collision went head-to-head with the Royal Rumble. This is information supplied by WrestleNomics. And yeah, let's see what the lineup was. I don't know how much you've been following this.
I don't know what all was on it. Apparently nobody else does either.
AEW Collision, Saturday, January 27th, 2024. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty versus Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley.
How the fuck did that miss?
And a Commander Roddy Strong backstage angle. 343,000 viewers. Quarter 2, Orange Cassidy versus Commander, picture-in-picture, post-match with Roddy Strong. 333,000 viewers. 8:30 p.m., quarter 3, Matt Menard and Daniel Garcia's backstage angle. An ad break. Tony Storm and Mariah May's backstage angle, and Lady Frost versus Mariah May, with picture-in-picture and a full ad break, 295,000 viewers. Quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m., a Swerve Strickland backstage promo, an Adam Page backstage promo, there's an ad break, Eddie Kingston versus Willie Mack, and the post-match with Bryan Danielson, 305,000 viewers. Big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter 5. Danielson versus Yuji Nagata. With picture-in-picture. Yuji Nagata. 307,000 viewers.
I was going to say, how old would he be now? I recognize that name from years ago. I didn't know he was wrestling in this country at the moment, but that doesn't stop anybody in AEW.
I would guess mid-50s or early 50s, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
Quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m., the continuation of Danielson versus Nagata, post-match with Eddie Kingston, an FTR Mark Briscoe backstage angle, an ad break, Brian Cage and Hook's backstage angle, Serena Deeb versus Robin Renegade.
I can't believe we missed all this.
And Deeb's live promo, 276,000 viewers. Quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m., a CMLL video, an ad break, and Daniel Garcia and FTR versus the House of Black, with picture-in-picture and full screen, 264,000 viewers.
Ouch.
And finally, quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m., continuation of that match, and the post-match with Mark Briscoe and Julia Hart, 278,000 viewers. 78,000 in the key demo.
Now, bear in mind, we are right at numbers now that they are approaching on this program that were drawn 40 years ago by Memphis Wrestling on WMC TV Channel 5 in Memphis on Saturday mornings alone. No other airings, no other stations, no other cable. Just the local program. But the big news is, Brian, apparently there's a contender that we have not been covering in the sweepstakes to determine who's going to be the number 2 wrestling promotion behind the WWE. And now, Cinderella story out of nowhere, Tony Khan has been overtaken. He's been outrated by the Big Little Brawlers on Discovery. They did a better rating for their Big Little Brawlers midget wrestling show than AEW did for Collision on fucking TBS. Am I hearing this correctly?
Yeah, I have a tweet here that someone sent me by someone named Gareth. AEW Collision did 300,000, Big Little Brawlers did 359. He wrote, AEW is now the 4th biggest promotion, I'm afraid. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I don't know if the...
Well, it is the 2nd biggest midget wrestling promotion.
Well, come on now. The Big Little Giants, is it a promotion or is it a show? I don't even know what it is.
It's a TV show. I doubt very seriously if they're getting people to buy tickets to see it live. But then again, we can say the same thing about AEW.
Who's their booker?
I don't know. But then again, we can say the same thing about AEW.
That's true. Well, I mean,
that's disheartening. When you can get more people to watch the midget wrestling from, I believe they're shooting it out of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, down near Dollywood in the Great Smoky Mountains. I know that area. You get more people to watch that than you do your fucking established wrestling promotion on Turner Networks with goddamn some level of recognized names. Can you recover from that?
I don't know. I mean, the problem is, I was trying to find something here. I can't find the tweet.
Wait, remember when Tony Khan tweeted out, well, a string has ended. When SmackDown got moved to Fox that night, it's the first time that John Cena or The Undertaker or The Rock or whatever major names he was talking about have appeared before less than 1 million people for a quarter hour. Well, now he's got himself in a situation where whoever the champion is of the big little brawlers could go over and be on Collision and say, well, I've never been on a segment with so few viewers before.
What I was going to say, though, is I couldn't find the tweet. I saw one where it had you may have seen it too. You may have been tagged on it. It had a list of the venues, the capacity, and what AEW put in that building.
Oh, I saw it, and I can't read it chapter and verse, but it was depressing.
We're not even talking about smaller crowds in big buildings. They've gotten so small in a lot of these cases, it's embarrassingly small. And it kills the television show and the vibe of it. They have a big show coming up next week in Arizona. I believe they've sold, at least 4,000 tickets, so that'll be a big one, and they have a bigger lineup than they have. But when you look at all the things that in the old days you would look at to gauge the success of a wrestling promotion, live event ticket sales, television ratings or television interest, it's a real dire, not dire, because I mean, they're rich, or he's rich, his dad's rich, but it's a real sad state of affairs for AEW, and it's one of the reasons why you could get mad at Tony Khan, because this was the chance so that if anything happened, there was another place that was good and different, and it's like they burnt out on everything after the first few years and there's nothing left. Like, just everything is dead. There's no energy.
Well, that's why I've been mad since the start, because I said, and I've said this 5 years ago, this is going to be the chance in our lifetimes for somebody to mount any opposition to Vince. Never said in 1 million years they were going to exceed or surpass the WWE. That would be delusional fucking thinking from people not grounded in reality. But they could have easily, with $100 and whatever million, they could have easily been an adult, cool, hip, edgy alternative with younger athletes and or fucking more action and a little more, a little more edge to them that the big corporate sponsors wouldn't take and whatever, and be the rebel in this instance. But instead they went full indie garbage. Tony, of all the reasons we mentioned, no leadership, no booking skills, wouldn't let anybody else do it, whether they knew what they were doing or not. And the people that he relied on, which was, that was a fad audience to begin with. We were saying that 5 years ago, the Buckaroos and their ilk, that's a fad audience that's going to find something else that they can go and laugh at and not take seriously. And that's what's happened. And in the meantime, nobody involved in the positions of importance were experienced or capable of pulling it off. And nobody's been able to reel Tony in and explain to him that he doesn't come off like a normal person to most people. And so that we saw it. You could not see it unless you needed a job and wanted badly to take the billionaire for some money. If you had any knowledge of a history of wrestling or what it takes to do this, this was what was going to happen. I just didn't think he'd be able to spend $100 million and make it last 5 fucking years. But it could not happen because there's no fucking structure. There's no structure. There's no infrastructure. There's no command. There's no control. there's no clear view ahead, and nobody steering the fucking ship. And they've gone through everybody they can bring in, and every trigger they can pull, and every surprise they can pull off, and everybody that comes on the program, with I think 2 or 3 exceptions, is less over after 6 months than they were the first night in. And with MJF, it took him a while to kill him off because he was better than most verbally, and he was able to explain to Tony, don't fucking put me out there and do a bunch of stupid shit. Till then, Tony started putting him out there to do a bunch of stupid shit. Now, is there anybody there that's better off than they were before they got there?
One person, Swerve.
Swerve. There you go. And actually, he wouldn't be there at all, except he was a victim of the Vince era, and they fired his whole group, and then he was already taken by the time they could hire him back, so they hired the other members of the group who were all the fucking shits. Or he would have been back over there probably now in some kind of decent position at WrestleMania.
You know what, though? When his contract's up, he'll be in a better position to go back to WWE now than he would have, when they finally took the other guys back.
Yeah. That's true, but there's a few people that are just waiting in AEW for their contracts to be up so they can get the fuck out of there because they know they can. And then there's a lot of people that don't have the option to go to the WWE because WWE wouldn't want them, so they're going to be stuck here.
Well, Jim, what will likely be our final topic here today, and this is breaking in real time, and we will take this seriously as we read this.
I'm never making another joke again about anything. Fuck it. From now on, I'm Sammy Serious.
Well, this is a very interesting headline here. From Vice News by Tim Marchman, co-defendant in Vince McMahon's sex trafficking lawsuit says he was a victim too.
Oh, God damn it.
The truth will come out, John Laurinaitis' attorney told Vice News.
Oh, God damn it.
A lawyer for John Laurinaitis, a co-defendant in an explosive civil sex trafficking lawsuit brought last week against WWE founder Vince McMahon and WWE itself, appeared to corroborate central claims in the suit in a statement to Vice News today, while disputing Laurinaitis' role as described in the complaint. Edward Brennan, the lawyer, said that his client is himself a victim.
The lawyer
said that his client is himself a victim, just like the plaintiff, Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee.
Wait a minute. Now Laurinaitis is, well, what'd you expect me to do? Vince is telling me to do these things to her.
Quit. But let's go back to this.
Quit? Yeah. How about on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, or whatever that schedule was? And I'm sorry if I'm making a joke about this, but I call bullshit here. On Tuesdays or Thursdays or Saturdays, when she got to his hotel room, is there going to be testimony that he was saying to her, how did we get in this position, Janelle? And just tell Vince we did whatever because we don't want to make him mad, but let's just sit here and read the Gideon Bible. What the... How is this grown adult ex-professional wrestler, 6'4", 200 and whatever pounds, going to try to say that Vince McMahon forced him to do these things when Vince McMahon wasn't even in the room in some cases? Riddle me that, Batman.
And we'll get back to this article here, Robin, but the bigger issue is, or maybe not issue, but the bigger story here is it seems that he's willing to talk against Vince.
Well, of course he is.
There's no united front here. So that's very interesting.
Is 20 years younger than Vince. He's got to exist another 20 years on this planet with a name of mud. So, of course, he's going to blame fucking Vince because everybody hates Vince now anyway.
The truth will come out, Brennan added. In the suit brought last week in federal court in Connecticut, Grant says that McMahon and Laurinaitis sexually assaulted her in WWE's corporate offices, and that McMahon also trafficked her to Laurinaitis, the company's former head of talent relations. McMahon, according to the suit, went so far as to schedule appointments for her to sexually service Laurinaitis. Earlier today, Vice News reached out to Brennan, an attorney in the Tampa area, to confirm that he represents Laurinaitis. He did so, adding, as an aside, quote, Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court, not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. In a response to a follow-up question...
I can't wait to hear this story.
See, I hate to laugh, but I mean, again, this is just getting crazier.
No, you know what?
Crazier.
I just swore off laughing a few minutes ago, but now I've sworn back on laughing. Bullshit! What the fuck? Again, all he had to do when they were together was say, let's don't, and say we did, and tell Vince.
In response to a follow-up question seeking to clarify that he was indeed saying that McMahon was the predator and that Laurinaitis, like Grant, was a victim, Brennan wrote, read the allegations, read the federal statute, power, control, employment supervisory capacity, dictatorial sexual demands with repercussions if not met. Count how many times in the complaint Vince exerts control over both of them. The complaint, which can be read in full here, and there's a link, details allegations that McMahon instructed Grant to create explicit content for Laurinaitis and arranged a threesome between them, after which Laurinaitis declined to answer when Grant asked if this was the first time this has happened. Later, the suit says, she was transferred to the Talent Relations Department, which Laurinaitis headed, a transfer that came, the suit says, with the expectation from both McMahon and Laurinaitis that she engaged with Laurinaitis sexually, both physically and with explicit content. Let me stop there. It goes into Vince's comments that we read last week. Well, to be fair, let's read this. Mrs. Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth. Vince McMahon said last week in a statement. So here we are. Laurinaitis is now saying he too was a victim. This is going to get really messy, isn't this?
Well, and now that he said that, they're apparently going to tell some kind of story, and it's obviously not going to be a united front with Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis staring across the courtroom at this young lady all by themselves. He's saying, fuck this. I'm not going to get any more on me than I already have. I'm going to blame Vince. And
we asked earlier, what do you think he said to his family? I mean, we just talked earlier this show about the Bella statement. And
there's going to be people out there, well, you don't understand. I've worked in these trafficking and these arrangements. And yes, men can be victims also. God damn, John Laurinaitis. Fuck. He was a dynamic dude at one point, but he grew up a grown adult man that used to hire women wrestlers out of lingerie catalogs. I'm sorry, he's going to have a hard sell to convince me that he was a victim. And going along with all this, apparently with some element of exuberance. Matter of fact, if any of these acts were consummated, he had to be exuberant at some point. And now Vince was telling us all what to do.
Yeah, see, that's what's going to be interesting. Janelle Grant's attorney has been doing interviews. And like I said earlier, she said other people have already reached out. Other people have been in touch. Now that you see someone is actually out there as an advocate for someone who said they're abused by Vince McMahon, if you were, you know there's someone out there who would be a friendly ear at a minimum. So all this is happening. Laurinaitis puts this out, or his lawyer, that he was a victim too. You have to wonder what Janelle Grant's side is thinking. You have to wonder what other accusers, other women who may have been... If John Laurinaitis wouldn't answer how many times this has happened with Vince McMahon, that certainly leads one to think that it could have possibly been a thing that it was a recurring or a semi-recurring thing with...
Well...
Or who knows?
It doesn't matter how many other times it may have happened. But let's say... I know that a lot of people, for whatever reason, or just assume that, oh, goddamn, this job is the greatest thing that'll ever happen to me, and I need to keep this check. You know me, my only problem, I've never held anybody up for more money, a promoter. I've never showed up in no condition to perform, impaired in any way, shape, or form. I'm usually there early. I'm usually leaving late. I never stink in whatever performance, whether it's announcing, managing, or whatever. But my problem has been when I basically fucking get fed up and tell people what I fucking think of them or the situation that we're in because I've had all I can stands, I can't stands no more. Right? That's where I get into most of my trouble.
Yeah.
Can you imagine let's take this to another crime that you can be hauled into court for. Let's say that I came over to Vince's house one day and I found him out by the pool taking a goddamn bat to one of the gardeners, just wailing away at beating the shit out of this guy. Vince, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm tired. Here, take this bat and start kicking the shit out of this guy for me. What am I going to open myself up to being arrested, hauled into court on his say-so because I think he'll fire me if I don't beat this gardener up with a fucking bat? Well, maybe I'll just get another job then. What the fuck? How are these people like, well, he could have fired me, said Laurinaitis, potentially. So I had to do all these criminal things. What the fuck?
And they did fire him. The board fired him after the investigation. Vince didn't get fired. Laurinaitis did.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying. If Laurinaitis said, well, I feared for my job, Vince would have fired me. He had been a fucking wrestling executive for multiple years in major companies. I don't think he'd be immediately in a cardboard box under the overpass if he was fired for not committing a crime on his boss's say-so. Does anybody have it? Unless he was interested in the crime that was being dangled in front of him.
Well, the crazy thing is one of the specific things she alleges in her complaint is the locked room at Titan Tower that she's kept in, where McMahon and Laurinaitis take turns and at times restrain her while she says no, and one of them or both of them say no means yes and other things. That's in her complaint. He's now saying that he was forced to be a part of that too.
Well, because he knows if he doesn't do his part that Vince isn't going to fucking like it.
Again,
I wish he'd had the same dedication to his wrestling matches that all sucked.
You hate to doubt someone coming out like this. I mean,
Now, we made some fucking jokes when we heard the initial news because it was goddamn preposterous on the face.
It was out of this world, the first thing.
It was out of this world.
Yeah.
But now this is even more out of this world that if anybody, Laurinaitis is trying to put himself on the same level as this girl as being a victim when he was, I don't know if this is the Stockholm Syndrome or what, but he was acting in consort with her captor and or tormentor. And now he's a victim.
Let's see the text messages. Let's see the text messages.
What could Vince hold over John Laurinaitis besides his job? The threat of physical violence? Please. Laurinaitis ain't fucking Hoist Gracie, but goddamn Vince is 80 and Laurinaitis is a large man.
Yeah, he's like 6'6", right?
He's 6'4".
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Well, 6'3", 6'4".
6'4". In wrestling, that's 6'6".
Well, but the point being, how could you intimidate Laurinaitis? This worked Japan, this worked WCW. This is a 58, 59-year-old man at the time that's goddamn... No, I'm sorry. That doesn't fly that he could be intimidated or scared into towing the line and fulfilling the role as in this Vince play that he's been cast in unless he was willing to fucking do it. Or even if he didn't want to blow the whistle on the whole thing, tell Vince, hey, I'm sorry, but I ain't comfortable with this because of all kinds of shit could go on and my wife's sick at home or whatever the fuck. I'll see you at the meeting. I'm not doing this. Hey, what the fuck? Seriously?
Well, this will be very interesting to see what happens. Now, they said they're not going to really go public with this. I mean, they gave
I
several
want
quotes
this
here.
to be on court TV. I want this testimony to be live telecast.
Well, that's the latest on. We asked earlier, where's John? We asked earlier, where's John Laurinaitis? And now we at least know where his attorney is, Tampa.
Yes. And boy, I'll tell you what. He called the wrong guy if that's the story that this attorney came up with. I would say who he ought to call, but then the person that Laurinaitis ought to call wouldn't take his case because he only takes the case of deserving people that are fighting on the right side of justice.
That's right.
You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Those are the rest.
Oh, whether it's suing the governor of West Virginia, the incomparable Jim Justice over the horrible jail conditions there, class action suits on part of opioid-addicted babies, people that have been poisoned by large corporations and their malfeasance of chemicals, or whether it's the guy that got CM Punk and Ace Steel separated from their previous place of employment with smiles on their faces as the result of the way that they had been treated, being brought into clear focus by the man, the myth, the legend, the barrister of the angels, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. He's the man with the plan that can get you compensated or clarified or made whole again after you have been jerked around by some inordinately evil personage or corporation. Stephen P. New, he's the voice of the voiceless. He's on the side of the little guy. Even if you're a big fat guy, he'll be on your side too, as long as that side is the side of right and morality. And he can be had for a mere phone call to represent and serve you. If your cause is just and your case is at all winnable, then the man that wins it for you, once again, Stephen P. New, the most famous attorney now currently in professional wrestling history.
That's right, Stephen P. New.
That's what I said.
That's what you said, and that's what I added to there, Stephen P. New.
That's what you reiterated. You didn't really add anything. You just reiterated or regurgitated what I had said before.
Well, thank you very much. This is my show, and I'm getting insulted here on my show. Jim,
what better place for it?
Well, we've covered a lot, and your show's coming up. I got to get my insults for you ready. Well, with that, where the fuck is... There we go. With that, the drive-thru is closed. All right. In a very soothing way.
I think I like the X-Bombers better.
Hey. Maybe I'll join their band. But you could hear more of this crap on the Jim Cornette Experience and so much more, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And of course, next week, right back here on this show, we still need an intro song, so send in your drive-thru submissions as well. Go through the archive. Patreon.
Yeah, but the secondary program needs an intro also.
Patreon.com/Cornette. $5 a month gets you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. Don't forget to subscribe to the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, all with a very popular Travis Heckel artwork. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Follow Jim on Twitter at @TheJimCornette. Follow me on Twitter at GreatBrianLast. You can hear me on the 605 Superpodcast, 605pod.com, and of course, the wrestling news each and every day for free at thewrestlingnews.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
Oh, good Lord. They remember from 4 hours ago or so, I mentioned it. The tag team action figure sets go on sale Saturday, February 10th at noon Eastern. Get all the Cornette merchandise before that because it's going to come down so we can take care of the tag team sets. And these are the last ones of the Midnight Express that's ever going to be made. So get them while they're hot because when they're gone, they're gone.
At JimCornette.com. And of course, the drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New 877-507-8383, or 50-STEVE, as others may say.
Others may say that.
Get even with Steven at newlawoffice.com. But until the Jim Cornette experience in a few days and next week right back here on the Drive Thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!